in the morning. You got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening. Wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again. Argue about everything. You are my darling. This kiss and makeup, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day. I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay. We just gotta boom, bada boom, ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
I finally just had enough, because there came a point where, to me, there was really only 2 options. It was either get divorced or put a shotgun in my mouth and call it a day. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
That's kind of where I got. And so obviously I chose divorce over the shotgun, because I did not want to live another moment the way I was living. It's like, if this is all life is meant to be for me, and if this is all I am meant to be to her, to life, then I don't want to do it. Fuck this. I'd rather be dead.
You know the old saying that a hit dog hollers, well, a hurt man screams, and that's what you have.
I genuinely don't understand this shit. Right? I'm not even a fan of Kevin Samuels, right? But you women fucking celebrated that the man died because of shit that he said, right? And then you turn around and you support that dude. He beats the living breaks off of women. He put both of his baby mamas in the fucking hospital. But this is who you show support to. He's a certified demon. But y'all ignore everything that he has done with his fucking actions because you like the sound of the fucking message, even though the message is actually fucking dangerous. Because the men that he's talking about about who men should be like, is like him. But he beats the shit out of women. So when you find a man who is exactly like that dude, that's what you ask for. And you don't deserve protection. Period.
Go ahead and hop on to the comment section of that video. It's really interesting because what that comment section shows, and with the stuff that's going on with Will and Jada, really just proves is that women really do believe, they truly believe that their hurt feelings justify a physical response. And it's really interesting because whenever you hear stories of a man hurting a woman, unaliving a woman because his feelings were hurt, it's always chalked up to being toxic masculinity, which I'm not sitting here saying that it's right at all. I don't care how hurt your feelings are. I don't care. You do not have the right to put your hands on somebody. You don't. Like, this is literally something that they teach you as children in grade school.
Fire! The kosher clinician. Who told you that you couldn't rise from the morass of your current situation? Who told you that you had to be a slave to the pain of your past? Who told you that you had to settle for mediocrity in this current culture called America? Who told you that you couldn't change your mind? Talk to me. Now's the time for empowerment. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm the kosher clinician.
addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grab my hand, gave me a notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind.
It's often been said that art imitates life. And when art imitates life, it asks us the question, why are we seeing the things that we're beginning to see? In this show of the Kosher Clinician, we will be exploring the dark triad and the dark triad personality traits that are often seen in modern women. We will be exploring Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and also narcissism, as those three traits appear to be prevalent in modern times. We're going to explore the definitions associated with those three variables, but also we're going to be exploring some of the celebrities that could or more or less appear to have some of those traits. As I said earlier on this stream with Art Imitate Life, it appears that later in the past that some of the women that we're going to be talking about, like Meg Stallion, Monique, and Jada Pickett, is a reflection of modern women. Did you guys know that the vibrations that other people send out as signals can more or less be impacted inside the psyche of a man through subliminal cues, or also through the subconscious? We're going to explore how the Medusa Complex, a term that I created, defies or more or less explains some of the behaviors associated with modern women, as many modern women appear to have the Medusa Complex. The Medusa Complex is a complex that often leaves many women petrified when they look within the mirror. They can't see themselves because if they saw what they really are, then they will actually crack under pressure. And many would say that the Medusa Complex is a byproduct of a condition called cognitive dissonance. But that's not the topic of the show. The topic of the show is to explore why many appear to have the Medusa Complex. And could it be that the Medusa Complex is a byproduct of the dark triad, which in essence includes Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism? Sit back, relax, and enjoy this show as I bring it to you live from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. And I need you men to remember this as we seek to bring balance to the union as it relates to relationships in modern times. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. Have you been a victim of the dark triad forces that more or less have invaded your life? Have you been a victim of modern women that seek not only to understand your needs as men, but more or less aggrandize their needs at the behest of yours? Enjoy this show, support the show, share the stream, and let's get this show popping. Be well.
All right, guys, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind in a minute. Thank you for the 14
Fire for
Let's
your
get this
mind.
stream popping because we're going to have a very powerful topic on tonight. Some of you men are dating women that have traits that are synonymous to the dark triad. And if you don't know what you're looking at or what you're dealing with, you can become a slave and a victim to the women that you're dealing with. To the good women that are listening, some of you women that are dating men that have dark triad or dark personality issues. And so I solicit to the good sisters that are listening, you need to take heed as well, because some of you are looking for decent quality men. If you're not careful, you too will become a slave to the issues that you're dealing with. So we're about to start, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm running behind a little bit, guys. I've been extremely busy today getting this show together. Oh, man, these shows are very, very, very time-consuming, guys. Very time-consuming, but I do it all for the love of the brotherhood. And so if you like what I'm doing, please share the stream. If you have not donated, donate to the channel, and we're going to have a good discussion because there's a lot of meta madness going on. And when you see the concept of meta madness, you ask yourself the question, what is going on? To some of you men that are listening, you might ask yourself the question, what is going on with dating in modern relationships? And the women that I'm dealing with, do they have the dark triad traits? Some will argue yes. And I told you guys that once before in the past that art often imitates life. And what you guys are seeing now is a manifestation of art imitating life. So the question remains is this: are you dating a woman with dark triad traits? Are you dating a woman with dark triad traits? What percentage of modern women do you feel might manifest these behavior traits as well? Because see, if you're not careful as a man, you could be complicit in feeding those narcissistic traits. Because as I told you guys before last night, many of those women have what's called ego syntonia. And they got ego syntonia because they think that what they're feeling is right. And see, once you understand the intricacies of the mind, you will understand that ego syntonia actually is tied to delusional personality disorders. And that's why it's so important for the men that are listening and also the good women. You need to find people that are suitable to you so you won't become a victim of their shenanigans. If you are an empath, you are more at risk of being a victim of a person that would try to abuse you, use you, exploit you, and also manipulate you. They use techniques like gaslighting, and they'll draw you into their circle, or more or less, they'll draw you into their circle, draw you into their web, and they give you love bombs. They love bomb you with gifts, and they tell you how much they love you. But they do a lot of push and pulling techniques, and then they begin to isolate you from your family and your friends. And the next thing you know, you think that you are crazy or something is wrong with you. And see, you got to be extremely careful in these days and times, guys, because if you're not careful, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. Another condition that modern women have that is a byproduct of death is called the Medusa Complex. The Medusa Complex goes back to the Greek. Medusa was a woman. And Medusa was, anytime she would look in the mirror, she would become petrified. And many modern women, guys, they can't look in the mirror because if they look into the mirror, they will become petrified or they will crack. That's why anytime you or other good sisters like the Chantel Simones of the world, the Shay Shardays, and any other of those good sisters that are trying to do the right thing, they become very hateful and they become very vengeful because they cannot look at themselves because, once again, guys, they have a condition called ego syntonia. And they can't look at themselves because they also have a condition called this. Now, I need you guys to share the stream. I need at least 5 good brothers like what I'm doing. Share this show. As I told you guys before in the past, I love you, brothers. But as you guys know, I am a licensed therapist. These shows are extremely time consuming. I don't hate to keep hitting the horn, but there's a lot of meta madness going on. And so being a content creator is like doing 3 jobs or 2 jobs or 1. I'm the sole editor by myself. All the production is me. And on top of that, coming up with the topic and planning is very difficult. But because I love you guys and I want to see you men win, and also the good women that are listening, I put my heart, my soul, and my mind into this message. So share this content, guys. I need 5. When 5 people share the stream, hit the 1 button, and we're going to continue to have a conversation. And at some point, I'm going to ask some of you men, have you dated women with the dark personality triad traits or the dark triad traits? We're going to give a general explanation from the Psychology Today world. We're going to chop it up and we're going to break it down. We're going to look at some of the templates of what's going on as it relates to these type of women. Then we're going to have a rendition by Dr. Garland And then also to the brothers that are dating, we're going to give you practical advice from other content creators on what to look for. So once again, guys, if you like what I'm doing, share this stream. If you have not donated to the channel, please donate. Please share this stream with at least 5 to 10 brothers and sisters, because a lot of people are in mental health distress. A lot of people are walking around with undiagnosed mental illness. And so art actually imitates life. We talked about Monique last night, and we asked ourselves the question, was Monique actually a manifestation of Precious? And I would say yes. I believe that Precious was synonymous to the pain and the hurt that Monique had. And guys, because of that, Monique was projecting her anger on the screen. Because see, when people are violated, when people are desecrated into shame and desecrated into pain, then some do one or two things. They become either inward, or they pretend to project. They become inward, which is rigid, or they project their pain because they don't like the feelings associated with what happened to them. And so once again, guys, there's a lot of meta madness going on. It's synonymous to the word metacognitions. Meta means to think about what you're thinking about. Cognitions are your awareness. So what are you thinking about? What were they thinking about when they created the atrocity or whenever they created the crime or the pain? So once again, the Medusa Complex. Are modern women byproducts of the Medusa Complex, a term that I created? And I would say yes, because they cannot look at themselves. If they look at themselves, they will snap. If they look at themselves, they become petrified. If you hold them accountable, then they cannot see themselves. I like something that Bolo TV said. Shout out to that brother. And Bolo said that in his own words, and I quote, Bolo said that some or many, not all, shout out to the good sisters, but Bolo said that many or some modern women want the privilege of a man, the power of a man, the privilege of a woman, and the accountability of a child. And he said it very succinctly. And I think that's what some of you guys are seeing, and it's what some of you guys are actually doing. You guys are beginning to see the manifestation of these types of behavior. Shout out to my brother-in-law, Trey. Shout out, brother. That's my homie. Shout out to him. And guys, once again, we're going to have a very powerful discussion talking about the dark triad. The dark triad, because if you don't understand the dark triad, you will become a victim of meta madness. You will become a victim of confusion, and you'll be walking around asking yourself the question, what's wrong with me? Because see, once again, these people that have issues are very manipulative, and they're having you questioning your own sanity. That's a sign or the tale of many gaslighters. They have you questioning your own sanity because, you wonder, okay, maybe it's me. And they keep you in that negative cycle until at some point you become so broken that they'll push you away because they got you into their hook. And now your self-esteem is down because this person has affected you or impacted you in a negative way. Shout out again, once again, to the group. Let me read some of these comments. And once again, thank you guys. Gregory Scotland said that there is madness going on. Look at how women are praising Lori Harvey for leaving Michael B. Jordan. Yes, sir. Jordan or behind saluting Megan Good for dumping the last name of Devin Franklin. Yes, you're correct, brother. You're correct, Gregory. And that's the byproduct of delusional personality. And also, it's a byproduct of something my brother Troy said. Top Gun, he called it the granny serpent. And many have the spirit of a serpent. Yeah, many got the spirit of a serpent. And, because they have the spirit of a serpent, shout out to my brother Trey, no doubt. Shout out, Trey, to you and Keisha. I hope you guys are doing well. But many have the spirit of a serpent because they're very manipulative. Just like a snake is cunning. A snake is very malleable. A snake knows how to move in silence until he strikes his victim. I'm going to do a show at some point, guys, also talking about some of these horrible men as well. Because, see, as men, we got to hold other predatory men accountable as well. We got to know what to look out for because we got daughters. And I'm going to do a show called Beware of the Snake Whisperer. And just like the serpent whisperer in the ears of the woman, we're going to do a show on that. So once again, guys, let's get this stream popping. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be an awesome show. because I'm going to drop some fire for your mind. And as Bishop Charles E. Williams said, y'all ain't going to talk to me. But so once again, guys, we're going to get it popping. Please share this stream. I appreciate you, the 46 that are watching. But let's get more into the topic. Read you some more of these comments. Gregory Scotland said, this is why they send hate messages to Chantel Simone. Yes, sir. Crim Secure, Shay Sade Security Boss, Dominica Marie, or Amira, for examples. Right. See, the modern woman, guys, is not endearing to being under the authority of their husband. They see you as less than. It's not all of them. There's some good sisters that are striving to do the right thing. There are some good women out there. It's a small percentage, I believe, and they're striving to be good women. But see, we live in a very dark culture. And see, a lot of women do things based on groupthink. So when a woman go outside of the sisterhood, when a woman go outside the code, then she put herself at risk of being isolated. But see, when you have strong women like Sweet Lulu Bean and the Luke Hazeys of the world, they're not concerned about being isolated because they understand that only a few can go into the king's army. You see, it's easy to go along, to get along, but it's hard to stand out. According to the tenets of the gospel, he said that the way to heaven is a very narrow road, but he said the way to the dark side or hell is very wide. And it takes a very strong man or woman to take that narrow road. And so it's counterintuitive to nature when you try to step outside of your comfort zone. But it takes a strong voice to cry out in the wilderness. What's the woman name? Not Sojourner Truth, but Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed a lot more if they did not already know that they were slaves. And some of you men are slaves to your own ignorance. You are saboteurs to your own ignorance because you don't know how much power that you have. You allow other people to sabotage you in relationships because you are in their web. And once again, you get a condition called meta madness. Because after they get you caught up into that cycle, you begin to ask yourself, is something wrong with me? What was I thinking about to allow that woman to disrespect me? What was I thinking about to allow that woman to use me? What was I thinking about to allow that woman to violate my inner sanctum as a man? Every man needs an inner sanctum. The inner sanctum is that holy place where only he, God, and a few of his close friends go. His inner sanctum is the fortification of his mind. That's where he stands firm. It's very intricate. It's very detailed. Only a few people can go into the recesses of his brain because you have to be qualified. And so when you allow women into your life, guys, that are not good women, then once again, guys, you put yourself at risk of being manipulated. So once again, guys, to the 51 that are watching, get the streams up, get the likes up, share this content once again. If you love what I'm doing, guys, please donate to the channel. These shows are very time consuming. And I know you guys love me because you've been showing love over time. And to the sisters that are watching, if you like what I'm doing, please donate to the channel. Because if you're a content creator, you guys know that content creation is very, 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 very taxing. And it's very time consuming. So once again, to the 50 that are watching, thank you guys. And we're going to continue to get right on to this stream. We're going to do over some of the comments, guys. Randall said, I just work here in the Matrix and go to the gym. Counting down the days until I go back to Cartagena, Colombia. Shout out to you, Randall. No doubt, brother. Kevin Logman said that these personalities are unstable, sustainable. Society can only enable it for so long, no doubt. JJ Diesel Cowboy said, it's a lot of people like that in the world. We are in a time where many take offense to the truth. Yes, that's the blatant proof that we're truly in the last days. I totally agree 1,000%. JJ Diesel, we are in dark times, and even people do not adhere to faith for asking themselves the question, what's going on in the world, because the world has become very dark. Daryl J said it's the spirit of manipulation. Yes, I totally agree. It is very manipulative, and you guys got to know what to look out for. You have to know what to look out for. Shout out to my man, James Turner. That brother always holding me down, man. I got so much love for James. James is part of that brigade. Him and my man Top Gun, Gregory Scott, and a few others. I had to walk in the fire, man. I know they will hold me down, man. Shout out to James. James Turner is the sponsor of the stream as we speak. He says, salute to Kosher. Love what you do. And thanks for all that you do. He says, oh, my mama, no doubt, man.
Right?
And that's a deal, right? I appreciate it, James, man. I appreciate you, brother. You're a good brother.
Right?
You always hold me down, man. You're always giving. You always support the stream because We're living in times, guys, where men need support. As a licensed therapist, you know, you're not going to find too many clinicians taking on these topics, man, because it's not popular. But I don't like to see men suffer in silence. Because, see, we can't have a strong community where men are suffering, guys, in silence. Men need to have somebody that can pour life into them. Because we live in a time where anything that's associated with heteronormative masculinity is often berated and it's often cast down. And so men need hope. Our men need hope. Men need hope. And I told you guys before in the past that a broken man is a hopeless man. And a hopeless man, guys, he's very dangerous. When a man doesn't have hope, he's dangerous. And he's dangerous because he's at risk of breaking. And as Raekwon the Man said, and that's on my mom.
Yeah, put chain on the walls on my mom. That be broken mom. Kill some on my mom. Bro, like, he look like
that's on my monkey. That's on my monkey. That's on my monkey.
Yeah, that's on my mama. And so we gotta know what we're looking for, guys, when it comes to dealing with the behaviors that we're seeing manifest now. And once you begin to understand what you're dealing with, then you can know how to move around these negative behaviors. But once again, this is the dark triad. It's the dark triad, and we're going to break it down in a minute. We're going to break it down, and we're going to talk about it. So in the meantime, thank you to James Turner. Once again, he is the sponsor of the stream. I appreciate it, brother. And we're going to get right into it. I'm going to share the stream. I'm going to give you guys a comprehensive outlook of what the dark triad looks like. Shout out to Doberman. I appreciate it, brother, for the $2 super sticker. He said they support black men academic support, no doubt. I appreciate it, Doberman. But this is what you guys need to look for in the dark triad personality. I need you guys to take notes. So how to recognize dark triad personality traits. Why are traits like psychopathy and narcissism so destructive to relationships? And see, many of these women, guys, that have these traits are very seductive. They're very alluring. They're very, they're very beautiful. And you can get caught up in it if you're not careful. So we're going to talk about the dark triad traits. We're going to talk about how social media has begun to feed that narcissistic supply. Because, see, narcissists need other people that they can feed on in order to feel powerful, because narcissists, guys, really are empty people. Narcissists many times are victims of trauma and abuse. So they have a very fragile ego. So in order to protect themselves, they need other people to build them up. But see, it takes a person that's very cerebral to know if they have narcissistic traits or narcissistic personality disorder. All right, so once again, key points. Feeling safe in unhealthy relationships may be a signal that a partner is dealing with the dark traits of Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism. Learn to recognize 5 harmful patterns can minimize the likelihood, guys, are entering into unhealthy relationships. All right, so I'm going to read through some of it. I'm not going to read all of it, but we're going to look into it. So once again, I talked about earlier, guys, I talked about love bombing. As Valentine's Day approaches, and this article was written around Valentine's Day, many of us have love on the brain, but in between our musing of romantic bouquets and delectable chocolates, our thoughts may stray those relationships we regretted. We've all been in there. We've all been there. And many times, guys, it can be very hurtful. The ones that went on too long out of fear of the unknown, the ones where politics drove us apart, the ones where they just really didn't like your best friend. There are clear common missteps we chalk it up to, life lessons learned, and there's not much harm done other than temporary hurt feelings and a sense of wasted time. But there are relationships that are darker. And this is the dark triad, and we're going to look at the three archetypes because once again, art imitates life. I think Monique exhibits some of those traits. I'm not saying she have it, but she has some of those traits. The dark triad traits, guys, is often seen in European women, white women, but many modern women have some of those traits. It could be argued that perhaps Meg Stallion might have those traits, and many would definitely argue that Jada Pickett have the traits of the dark triad. All right, so I need you guys to get your pens and papers out because there are 3 personality types with the dark triad. There are 3 personality profiles that make up the dark triad of psychopathy: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. Psychologists Paulus and Williams coined the term the dark triad in 2002 when they found these three personalities tend to run together and cause trouble in relationships. And so we're going to talk about Machiavellianism in a minute, guys. Hold tight. We're going to talk about Machiavellianism. Hold on. So once again, Machiavellianism. Niccolo Machiavelli was a 15th century Italian politician famous for advising rulers to use deception and deviance to maintain power. Nowadays, his name is synonymous with people who schemes to manipulate people with traits that are strategic in their relationships, selecting relationships with people they can use for personal social status or wealth. Now listen, if you think about this guy succinctly, this sounds like many modern women. I told you guys that there are two types of hypergamy. One is called kosher hypergamy. Kosher hypergamy is fit and proper. It's fair, meaning the woman is not seeking to exploit the man. She's not seeking to use the man, but she does want things that can benefit her basic biological imperative. She wants shelter, clothing, and food. And most modern women make their own money now, which we understand, but she still wants a man that makes as much as her and a man that's going to, come in and help her and they can build a legacy in the family. It's kosher hypergamy. She's not manipulative and trying to use the man to benefit her own needs, but she is kosher because she's human. She do want a man to provide for her because it's a good form of human selfishness. But the next one would be called carnal hypergamy. And carnal hypergamy, once again, guys, is very, how can I say it? It goes to the word Greek. And the Greek word carnal comes from the Greek word carne. Carne means meat or flesh. And basically what it means is that she will use you as a tool to benefit herself. I created a term called the commodification of subjugation. It basically means that she will use you as a tool to subjugate you for her own personal reasons. Because some people are solipsistic. Some women are very solipsistic, which basically means there's no meaning to anything outside of themselves. And you have to be very careful with that. And so they use people for status or wealth. They call it getting the bag. The modern woman says, get the bag. Meg Stallion has some of those qualities. Her and Cardi B say, I don't cook and I don't clean. And so because some of you men, you have low self-esteem, you were not raised under masculine structure or masculine order, you give your power away to these women in relationships because you don't think you can get any better. You don't come into the relationship from a position of power. You come into the relationship thinking that you are less than, which in essence means you're going to give her more than what she's really worth. So you become a victim of Machiavellianism. If you're not careful, then you'll get yourself in a situation that can lead you in a negative state or even a quagmire. Did you guys know that men that get in marriages where the women have the Machiavellian type technique or the Machiavellian personality, that man is more at risk for suicide. Men that go through divorces are more at risk for suicide. And that's why I like what Mr. Palmer said in his very pointed term, you got to change the law in your mind. Shout out to Mr. Palmer. I'm going to do a show on that at some point called Changing the Law in Your Mind. Because see, if you don't change the law in your mind, then you will become a slave of your mind. You will become a saboteur, meaning you're sabotaging yourself of your own ignorance because you're caught up in a condition called dopamine. You are hoping based on that dopamine rush that woman gave you when she told you she loved you and when she kissed you, that she was not going to ever change. But guess what? Love is like, how can I say it? It's like the wind. It comes and goes. And if your life is not fortified in principle, if your inner sanctum is not fortified in truth, then you can become a slave to the feeling called love. In a self-reported questionnaire, the dark triad personality traits measure comes from Machiavellianism, include it's wise to keep track of information that you can use against people. Whatever it takes, you must get the important people on your side. I use insincerity and flattery to get my way. That's Amber Heard. Amber Heard is like that. Amber Heard is typical of Machiavellianism, part of that dark triad of personality traits. And see, many of these people, guys, have personality disorders. We're going to go back and review that at some point as well. Let me read through some of these streams because I can't see the streams while I'm reading this chat. But once again, guys, share the stream. I'm gonna go do some of these comments. Shout out to my man, brother Zick. He said, "Free thinking men, find an outlet and pursue your goals, no doubt." Shout out to XL Pro. XL Pro, I'm gonna make you a moderator around with Tim Howard, James Turner, a lot of the brothers. Shout out to you, brothers. What Bang said that, and that's on my mama rapper, what a lot of black females in our community go for. Oh, well, I got to make my money and make travel. No doubt, brother. I totally agree. Make that money, brother, and start loving yourself because your time on this earth is limited. We all going to date with death at some point. And at some point, we will stand before our Creator. So you got to enjoy your life and live your life on your own term because you never know when your time on this earth is going to expire. Hold tight. Let me read through some of these comments. No doubt. Thank you, Red Star 71. No doubt it's a good topic. Well, that's what I live for, man. I live for the empowerment of all men. I believe when men come into relationships that they should have power. We're not talking about these manipulative men. We're not talking about these reckless men. We're not talking about the Raekwon and the Man types. We're not talking about them. We're not talking about men that have that on my mama mindset because they was not raised by masculine men. And that's on my mom.
Yeah, put chain on them balls on my mom. That be broken balls. Kill some on my mom. Bro, they back me look like gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my monkey.
Right. And see, what happens, guys, when you deal with these kind of women, you think something is wrong with you, but there's nothing wrong with you. You just got caught up in a dark triad. You guys got caught up in a dark triad. Because you're dealing with women, once again, guys, that are dealing with a myriad of personality disorders. Some have cognitive dissonance. And many have no doubt. Shout out to my man D May. He said, "You're cooking. I knew something wasn't right with dating America in the United States." He said he saw that in his early 20s. No doubt. I appreciate it, brother. I really appreciate it. But let's get back to topic because I want to liberate your minds on tonight. I want to liberate you men. And I also want to liberate the good sisters that are watching, white or black or indifferent to ethnic hue, because there are some good women that are striving to do the right thing. It's a remnant. And I did a show talking about the remnant. It's a remnant of good women that are striving to walk that straight path. They're not perfect. They know that if they're not careful, they can become a slave to their female nature. They know that they're not careful, they can become a slave to a sisterhood that would not hold them accountable, but actually would try to shame them into cooperating. But some of you men that are watching and listening, you guys know also that when you stand firm on masculine principles, when you stand firm on masculine authority, because some of these men are sympathizers and because they have the spirit of the hyena. Yeah, they got the spirit of the hyena. They will come and try to shame you brothers back into submission because, see, they never seen power. They don't even know what power looked like. They've never seen power. They've never seen men standing on principles. Many have been raised in circles where that's all they saw was women. And, you know, you can't help how you were raised or what condition you were brought in. But watch this. When you know better, then you got to do better. And as Mr. Palmer said, you got to change the law in your mind. Because in the clinical world, we call it cognitive restructure, meaning you got to restructure or remodify how you think so that you're not a victim of some of these personality traits that a lot of men are walking into as it relates to dealing with modern, non-traditional women. There are some modern women, guys, that have traditional values. I want to clarify that. There are some modern women that have traditional values. There are modern women with traditional values, but those women often are shamed into silence. And that's the world that we live in now, when you try to give them truth. Like the gospel said in the latter times, he said they won't love the truth. They don't love the truth. They love foolishness. They don't love the things that can build or fortify the community or whatever smallest we have in this community. And I don't blame guys or agitators to say, they're not trying to save no community. I don't blame them at all. Because me being a pragmatic male, even though I'm very optimistic, I understand it's going to take generations or years to get this thing right. You can't build a city overnight. And just like you can't remodify behavior overnight, there's no incentive to change because once again, guys, I told you they only respect power and strength. That's all they respect. But see, in a relationship where things are balanced, it's called a symbiosis, but also relationship positivity. The man benefits, the woman benefits. The man, he benefits, the woman benefits. That's positive reinforcement. But watch this. Many times in behavior science, the woman benefits and the man is stuck here. And he's constantly chasing her validation. He's constantly chasing her validation. But guess what? You'll never get her validation because she sees you as less than. Women only respect men they can look up to. That's why women tend to like taller men. Because it's the illusion of power. Even though we know there are some shorter men that are more dominant, more powerful than taller men like myself. But it's the illusion of power. And that's why they like those such said men. Now let's look at another one called psychopathy. When we heard the word psychopathy or the term psychopathy, we think of the term psychopath. We tend to think of serial killers like Charles Manson and Ed Kemper. But psychopathy, guys, is a spectrum and we're all on it. People who have a high level of psychopathy have low empathy for others and are very callous in their actions. It's not a psychopath, but it's a spectrum of negative thoughts. And they tend to be very reckless and thrill-seeking. The Raekwons and the madmans of the world have psychopathy. Some of these modern women have psychopathy. And so we're going to look at what psychopathy might look like. Psychopaths might agree with statements like payback needs to become quick and nasty. That sounds like many modern women. Mr. Palmer called them the baby mama terrorists. People can often say, I'm out of control. I enjoy having sex with people I hardly know. Of course, it's not to say people who participate in casual sex with strangers have a high level of psychopathy, but a psychopathic portrait will also include many hints of high risk taking together with lack of empathy. If you believe that modern women have empathy, if you believe that most non-traditional modern women have empathy, I want you to hit 1. If you don't believe that they have empathy, I want you guys to hit 2. And so once again, guys, I'm reading these. I can't read the comments while I'm doing this, but I'll get to the comments in a minute because this is true. Shout out to everyone, the brothers that are listening. Gregory Scotland said that kosher women may ask the question, where are the good men that then reject them because they are square. That's what happened to the brother that was the neuroscientist. You're right. And this goes more back to what we're all beginning to see, guys. We're all beginning to see that many men are saying the same thing. And so when men begin to say the same thing, then we need to take heed to what they are saying. If you got brothers that are saying that they see the same thing in modern women and behavior, then we need to take heed to what these brothers are saying. Because dark personality traits, guys, are impacting a lot of men. A lot of men are getting married. They're getting caught up in the legal system. And once they get caught up in the legal system, then they become slaves of their own ignorance because they didn't think that woman was going to ever change. They thought that woman was going to be like Keith Sweat, make this last forever. Because see, you gentlemen, you come into the relationship with a 1950s hard drive. You are a romantic. You believe in the nebulous concept called love. And I'm not against the feeling of love. I'm not against being in love, but you must love a woman within reason. You can never love her more than you love yourself because the times that we're living in, you can make yourself a slave of the dark triad. You can make yourself become a slave of that dark triad. And once you become a slave of the dark triad, you can get caught up in a cycle. People that get caught up in a cycle sometimes can be victims of homicide. They can become victims of suicide. They become victims of relationship abuse. They can become victims of paternity fraud. They can become victims of a myriad of things because they got caught up in the triangle. They got caught up in that dark triangle. And then they get a condition called meta madness because they're asking themselves the question, what was I thinking about? How many of you guys have been in relationships where you begin to ask yourself the question, what was I thinking about when I got into that relationship? Why didn't I see all those dark triggers and those negative behaviors with this woman? Some of you guys are still dealing with the trauma of prior marriages. Some of you are still dealing with the traumas of bad relationships. Some of you are dealing with pain of finding out that child that you thought was your child was not your child. And now that your inner sanctum is violated because you got a woman that have dark triad traits, now you go into relationships thinking that all women are bad, which is a thinking error called overgeneralization. And you overgeneralize because you have been a victim of the serpent. Because see, watch this, the serpent, guys, she has, the serpent has a schema affliction. And she's very dangerous because once she gets her fangs into you, it's going to be hard to get out. When you get caught up in a dark triad, guys, now the snake got her venom in you. And shout out to Top Gun because Top Gun talked about something called the granny serpent. You got some of these old women like Monique that we thought were virtuous women, but you begin to see them for what they are when they're put in the pressure cooker. They have the spirit of the granny serpent. They feign or act like they have virtues that can more or less impact and love men, but many have an alternative motive. You got women now coming to these circles now since Kevin Samuel's dead, trying to take his talking points and make it part of their own repertoire for gain. And see, as men, you know, we believe in having women that come and communicate in these circles, women that are genuine. We believe in dealing with women that grew up in traditional families and they have a pure heart. But men are very reluctant guys to go into relationships because even those women that are traditional, you're always asking yourself the question, what is their angle? Because see, once you've been hurt by a woman that has a dark triad personality, then you don't know how she's going to continue to treat you. And you're going to make an overgeneralization and assume that all women are like that. Shout out to my man XL Pro for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, XL Pro. XL Pro always support male content. I see that brother everywhere. He's always showing love. He's always donating. XL Pro, feel free, brother, if you'd like to at some point to come up and talk. I love what you're doing as relates to supporting male content. And so shout out to you, brother. You're an awesome brother. But I'm going to read through some of these comments because all these brothers are saying too, and sisters. Shout out to Luke Casey. How are you doing, dear? I appreciate you joining in. Gregory Scotland said, Coach, that's why I like the way that you run your platform. You stand in masculine light and don't let women take over the discussion. Some male content creators let this happen, must stand firm. No doubt, brother. I appreciate that compliment, sir. So all the guys are saying too. Even the ladies are saying too. They're all saying too when it relates to the negative traits of some of these modern women. Luke Hayes said that baby deletions through Planned Parenthood. No doubt, sis. I agree with you 1,000%. Cool Gent said too as well. Shout out to Cool Gent. But we're beginning to see it, guys. We all are beginning to see it. And, you know, I like what Luke Hayes said. Luke Hayes is from Venezuela. She's from Venezuela. And she saw the negative darkness that began in her country with cultural Marxism, where you weren't allowed to speak. And so people that have those dark triad traits, guys, they seek to control and manipulate you. They seek to control and manipulate you, and they don't want you to speak. They don't want you to have a voice. Because, see, when you begin to speak and stand firm in your masculine principles, then they know that, you know, this person's not going to feed my narcissistic supply. And because they have a very negative ego, and they have what's called ego syntonia, They think that what they're feeling is normal. They have ego. And you got women, guys, that look beautiful on the outside, but they have a very dark soul. That's why the gospel says that charm is vain and beauty is very deceitful, but who can find a virtuous woman? I'm going to say it again. Charm is vain and beauty is fleeting or deceitful. But who can find a virtuous woman? Who can find a woman like, what's her name, Shirley Brown, to say she's all for her man? Who can find a woman like that? A woman that's virtuous. A woman that say, I love that man. A woman that say, I live my life to serve my man. I live my life to more or less serve my family and my community. It's hard to find women like that, man. Because see, you got women that come into relationships with baggage, but they still think that they're better than you. She can have 4 or 5 kids by Raekwon, Man, Day, Shermite, and Tyrone. And she still thinks she deserves a man to make good money. That's egocentria. That's delusional. And when you succumb to those kind of behavior or personality traits, then guess what? She begins to laugh at you. Teddy Pendergrass said it better than me. He said, the whole world laughing at me. He said, silly fool. And you become a silly fool when you allow a woman like that to manipulate you. Hold tight as I'm reading through some of these comments. Hold tight. Shout out to Luke Casely for that $10 super sticker.
That's a deal, right?
Thank you, dear. I really appreciate it, Luke Casely. Thank you, man.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right?
Thank you, Luke Casely. Ray Hammerford said they're the league of the succubus. Modernized women have a serpentine's heart. Yes, many do, brother. Yes, sir, you're right. Luke Casey said you see them all on social media. You're right. And what they'll do, they'll try to silence women like her, the Lulu Beans of the world. The good sisters, they'll try to silence them because they know that when they begin to speak out, then those sisters make them look bad. There was a time, guys, when shame was normal. It was shameful to sleep around with different men. There was a time when it was shameful to have babies outside of marriage. It was shameful to dress scantily clad. It was shameful to not respect your body and respect your community, or more or less respect your children. But now, abnormal or bad behavior has become the new norm. And if you say anything about it, they'll think that you're crazy, or they'll try to shame you into silence because they don't want you to more or less call them out on their BS. But the question remains is that do modern women have dark personality traits? And once again, guys, this supersedes race. This is not a black woman issue. This is a Western woman issue. It's not endemic to just black women. It's endemic to many. And if you're not careful, guys, you can become a victim you can become a victim of the dark triad. So let me continue to read through these comments, guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you for tuning in, guys. So let's go back to Narcissus. That's the major one, Narcissus. Narcissus was somebody that fell in love with himself. You know, social media now feeds the narcissistic supply. You got women now on social media. That's all they do. They looking and, you know, always smiling, you know, got the duck lips, you know, always looking at, you know, you got guys that do it too. But women are the icons of beauty, not men. Men are not beauty icons. Men are icons of power and strength. There are some handsome men, but, you know, and not saying that women are not visual, because they are, but women sometimes, I think by and large, can look past the physical face of a man. Not saying, you know, he got to be hideous, but women are beauty icons because men are more attracted to breasts, hips, thighs, the curves of a woman's body. But social media, guys, have caused average women to think that they're special. You know, they just like Narcissus. Narcissus was looking in the water pool, and he became mesmerized with his beauty. And just like that serpent, as you guys saw, Medusa, he thought he was better than what he really was. And see, when men begin to tell women, you're not all that, you're not as fine as you think they are, then they get a schema affliction. And also, when you tell some of these modern women that they're not all of that, they have the Medusa Complex because they cannot look at themselves because they're victims of, once again, guys, the dark triad. Dark triad personality traits. When you get around a woman that can't take accountability when she can't look at herself, and sadly some women struggle with that, and large struggle with that because they're not mature, then you either try to push that woman in the direction where she can auto-correct, or you eventually have to get rid of her because she's going to hinder you from fulfilling your purpose in this earth. You men have inherent value. You are the first fruit of God's creation. Before there was woman, before there was the animals, there was God and man. And he made you in his image. So you have to put Yahweh first, God, your purpose as a man. And then the woman that came out of you, she compliments you in your purpose because she was made for you. I want you guys to say it to yourselves as a form of thought modification. Every time you get tempted to simp, every time you get tempted to give your paycheck and all your money away, I want you to use a thought-stopping technique, and I want you to put a band on your arm and say, she was made for me. She was made to serve you, that you might turn around and serve her. You get the first dibs because you are the prize catcher. She can be a prize in her head, but you guys are the prize catcher. Now watch this. A prize catcher can be a 1, a 10, or a prize catcher can be a 1. But if every man got married in the United States today, there'll still be 2 million women without husbands because there's more women than men, I believe, in the United States, or black women, I guess. I don't know the whole statistic. But you are the prize catcher, so you should never walk around with your head hanging down. You should never feel bad because you make $50,000 a year. You should feel bad because you make 45. Should you always pursue to make more money if you deem that necessary? Yes. But don't let a woman or a man make you feel bad if you work hard and you work hard for your money and you work hard for your labor. Because, Christ was a carpenter. And Christ was not necessarily concerned about the richness of the world because he knows that the riches of the world is going to pass away at some point. Some folks say, I'm going to get the bag. Okay, it's not wrong with getting the bag, but you're not going to take it with you. When you stand before Yahweh or Jehovah or Elohim on Judgment Day, he's going to say, may the works that you've done speak for me. And if you use money as your means to more or less pontificate who you are, then you can become a slave of a condition called idolatry because you worship the money. You become a slave of mammon. And there's nothing wrong with making money. I like making money. But I'm not a slave of money because I know at the end of the day, none of this stuff that we have is going to be forever. It's temporary. It eventually will pass away. And that's why you can't become a slave of money, but you need to become a slave of principle. And once you become a slave of your principles, then you will not be in a position where you can become compromised. I know it's tempting. We all get tempted. There's nothing wrong with temptation. The great teacher Jesus was tempted, but he didn't sin. But you can't become a slave of money. So once again, Narcissus was a beautiful hunter in Greek mythology who fell in love with his own reflection. But now when we see that someone is narcissistic, we mean something more than just vanity. Someone with high levels of narcissism feels entitled to adoration, power, and high status. So much that if they don't get those things, they make lash out. Wow. And that's many modern women, regardless of race. Some of these young teenage kids, some of these zennials are like that, boys and girls. They have narcissistic traits. They have narcissistic traits. They begin to lash out when they don't get it. You got women that expect men to take them on dinner dates. You got women that expect men to take care of kids that those men didn't sire. Some of you women have sons. You want your sons to be slaves of a woman that only want to use your son as a convenient come up after she had all her fun. And you should never want to get caught up in that predicament. As I said before, gentlemen, you have inherent value. If you don't love yourself, once again, you become a slave of your own ignorance. And that's why, guys, I do these shows. Shout out to, I didn't see some of these super chat. Thank you, guys. Shout out to Moonwalker. He said, keep spreading the truth, my brother. No doubt. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And shout out to Security Boss Unsolicited. Thank you, dear. I appreciate it. She said, proceed with caution, gentlemen. Vet them well. No doubt, sis. I appreciate it. And that's a deal, right? Thank you, Security Boss and Chief.
That's a bet,
I really
right?
appreciate it, dear. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. And she's correct. You have to vet them with caution because they have the spirit of a serpent. They're very cunning, guys. They're very cunning. And they're very manipulative. And if you're not careful, you get caught up in the quagmire and you will get caught up in their shenanigans. Guys, go check out Security Boss on her channel. She's doing a good work because once again, guys, they have the spirit of the serpent. And they have schema afflictions because they can't hear what you're trying to tell them. They cannot see what you're trying to tell them because in their head, they think that what they're doing is normal. So you guys need to be very vigilant. You need to know what your standards are and be uncompromising in your convictions as a man. All right, so once again, let me continue to read through some of these comments. Those that have narcissistic traits, they might agree with statements like, many group activities are dull without me. I have a natural talent for influencing people. If they don't get the attention that they crave for or crave, they might, for example, lie about how many gifts they received for their birthday. Based on the ominous name, you might think people would have to avoid those with dark triads, but ironically, we're often attracted to people who have a smidgen of psychopathy or a hint of dominance, especially because people with dark triads tend to be good at making themselves appear to be more attractive. And that's how the serpent was. That's how Lucifer was. Lucifer had dark triad traits. You know, he was able to corral Eve and make her think that she would have more power than she really would. He was manipulative. He told her, he said, you would be like God. You will have the gnosis or the knowledge like Yahweh or Elohim. He deceived her. Because see, guys that got swag many times had the spirit of the serpent. They're the snake whisperers. You got a lot of men that have the snake whisperer spirit. And, you know, they'll come into the woman, you know, and tell her what she want to hear. They'll manipulate her. They'll tell her, I love you, I'm going to marry you. They'll get her pregnant. They'll gaslight her, love bomb, and then eventually they'll start beating up on her. And that's why women need men as their fathers to cover them. Because men can see things that you can't see. Just like women can see things that many times men can't see. A righteous masculine man knows a man that's wicked. Because a wicked man does not follow order. Don't get caught up in these men that talk about Yah, the Most High, and all that. But the fruits that they manifest are not manifest of a man that's exhibiting God-like behavior. Oh, you know, I believe in the Most High and, you know, Yah, but you don't even follow order. God is order. So how can you say you believe in Yah and God, but you don't even follow order or structure? That's not God. And as Bishop Charles E. Williams said, y'all ain't gonna talk to me. Now, once again, guys, we're getting right back into it. So the dark triad patterns. These are the 5 destructive patterns that you need to take note of to recognize people high on the continuum of dark triad. He said they're liars. They're liars. Researchers have found that those on the higher of the dark continuum lie more often, think of themselves as good at deception. More specifically, Machiavellianism is associated with telling more white lies, while narcissism is lying about popularity. That's why we call Facebook fake book. Because you got a lot of folks on fake book that are fake, and they're not real, they're fake. The most troubling are those with high levels of psychopathy, who are more likely to lie for no reason at all. When you catch a partner with these traits in a lie, you might begin to sense that something doesn't add up. The erosion of trust, whether big or small, can start to chip away at your security. Yes, sir. And so people are trying to shame you and say, oh, he just insecure. No. You're not insecure. Because see, you could be a very secure man in your position, but you don't feel secure in that relationship, not because you're insecure by default, but you're not secure about the behaviors that they are exhibiting. So many folks say when a man tell a woman she go out because she got dark triad personality traits, she got psychopathy. when she go out and dress, like the old boys used to say back in the day, a skeezer, she'll say, oh, you just insecure. No, I'm not insecure, boo. But I'm not secure in this relationship. I'm not insecure by default, but I'm not secure in how you conduct yourself as my woman. And so they're trying to shame you guys. They're trying to shame you. So, oh, you're insecure when they want to go eat lunch with their ex-boyfriend. They'll say, oh, you're insecure when they want to go to the club with their girls. They'll say, oh, you're insecure when they want to go on girls' trips and and many times, not all, but many times, to hook up with men. And so your internal hard drive as a man would say something is wrong with that because men are designed to protect their women. But see, some of these women have had so much fun in the past. Once they get married, sex means nothing to them. Some of them, their receptors have been burnt out for having so much fun. They've had so much fun that, many of them can't even orgasm, some of them. And they've had so much fun that when they get married to you, sex is nothing special. It's just another routine. So now you get caught up in their web. Some of these women got a rotation of men. I call them simps or hyena simps. And these hyena simps feed that narcissistic supply. I remember a time, guys, where average men got with average women, but then you got women that are average that think they want or they deserve men that are 10s. And that's delusional. And this goes back to what I was saying as well, infidelity. It's well known that those high on the triad are more likely to cheat on their romantic partners. Given their penchant for impulsivity, lack of care of others people's feelings, and the ability to lie easily and often. This isn't surprising. What's more interesting is these traits in the dark triad lead to which types of infidelity, of course. When people are in higher levels of psychopathy, it tends to lead to a breakup. But when people are more Machiavellian, they cheat, they can manage to keep the relationship going. The Machiavellians are more influenced, like the politicians. They might think of a better way to manipulate their partner so they can get scot-free. In fact, you might find yourself wondering if you're the bad guy when the boyfriend you just caught sex texting with someone else, you're driving someone else, you're on the boyfriend might, when the boyfriend you just caught sexting with someone else says you're the one driving him away and being too overbearing. Don't fall for this. This is classic Machiavellianism. It's gaslighting. And they're using an excuse to justify their bad behavior. There was a story, guys, of a woman where the man caught his wife at the poolside. The man was massaging her feet. She's a Machiavellianism, just like a politician. She used influence and manipulation to deceive and keep you off balance. A lot of women have those dark Machiavellian traits, guys, Machiavellian. They use jealousy and revenge. Those with dark triad tend to have high levels of preventive jealousy, feeling jealous they have never been given reason to than the average person. One study found that those with dark triad not only more likely to have cheated on a partner, but also expect to be cheated on. If they do find themselves in an unfavorable relationship, they're more likely than the average person to want to take revenge, like shouting at their partner or spreading a rumor about them. Interesting, the dark triad women, this study said that they even thought that they wanted revenge. They weren't necessarily in the relationship if their partner cheated, but this speaks to them wanting emotional control over the man for the sake of control rather than doing harmful things that are part of impulsive reactions. Hold tight. I'm almost finished, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. People with this dark triad personality, guys, they like superficial relationships. Given their lack of true emotional devotion, people high on the dark triad scale don't tend to choose serious committed relationships. There's nothing wrong with flings, but dating for fun, but friends with benefits and other not so serious romances. Well, this is what they say. Anyway, I don't agree with that. But anyway, people with dark triad tend to make a habit of emotional, shallow relationships, but romantically with other friends. Specifically, narcissism tends to go hand in hand with one-night stands, psychopathy, and tends to go with booty calls. And that's the modern woman. Many modern women are like that. They like having fun. They don't see nothing wrong with it. And then after they have all their fun, they want you to come put a ring on their finger. In friendships, Machiavellians look to befriend those with elite social status. Narcissists like to roll with a good-looking squad. And men with psychopathic traits like friends who can play wingman and help them hook up with potential partners. That's the dark triad. And many times, these personalities these relationships don't last. Even if they want to stay in a long-term relationship, people with dark triad have a hard time making it last because they are simply hard to get along with. And there you go in a nutshell. The dark triad. And I got some another clip I'm going to pull up and we're going to break it down even more. But you guys are getting the picture. As I said earlier, many of them have what's called the Medusa Complex. And they have a condition called meta madness. And when you get caught up in that cycle of meta madness, you begin to ask yourself the question, why did I waste so much time with this person? What was I thinking about when I allowed myself to get caught up in this relationship that's caused me a lot of pain and harm? Because many times these people gaslight you and they make you think that you're crazy, but when in actuality, you're just a victim of their manipulation. Let me continue to read through some of these comments, guys. You guys are doing an awesome job. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you brothers are doing. I appreciate the sisters that are watching as well. Thank you. Much love and blessings. Shout out to, once again to the sisters on the panel. UFO Kamazi said, Luke Casey, it was a while back. I moved with a clear conscience after doing whatever the help. Okay, no doubt. Shout out to my man, Moonwalker. He said, keep spreading the truth, my brother. No doubt. I appreciate it, Moonwalker. Thank you, brother. Otaku 8209, he said, most boys are too effeminate because of social media and single mothers. I agree with that, brother. GC from LA said, find tremendous gratification in saying no. I'm not doing that to action and characteristics of simping. Then you must be okay in not getting what you wanted, the woman. Right. No doubt. Shout out to Jenny Morena and everyone that are watching and listening. Shout out to everyone. I appreciate you guys' support as we seek to bring balance in these very turbulent times. JJ Diesel Cowboy said, male and female friends have the snake whisper voice. Let's have each other for them to stay away from good people. GC from LA said she would dress provocative to get her play brother. Right. Right, her play brother, right. And GC from LA is correct. Watch out for those women that say, that's my play brother. Because guess what? Many times those play brothers are playing the wing man until they can get between her legs. Or they're guys that she know like them and she keep them in the rotation in case you mess up. You got to set strict boundaries with modern women. And if she want to be in a relationship, she got to play by the rules. If she want to be in that relationship, if she want a marriage. If she don't, you keep it moving, man, because she's going to try to shame you. Shout out to Top Gun. He said, keep pushing the content. You awaken these brothers. They have been shamed into sucking place one man at a time. That's all these, all these high gas prices. You're a funny dude, man. And like Raekwon the man, I said,
yeah, we chain on them balls on my mom. They be broken balls. Kill some of my mom, bro. They back. He look like gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my mom.
Yeah, that's on my mom. Is on my gas too, because you're right. These gas prices are high. James Turner said, and that's on petroleum. What's up, Cole Black? How you doing, brother? Cole Black said many modern women do not want wifey responsibility, so they will rather trap a man to get his resources without marriage, and also blaming men from them for being incentivized, no doubt. And that's why you have to change the law of your mind, and that's why you need to know what you're looking at. When you see women trying to manipulate you, look for dark triad traits. These are traits that can go in men and women, but since my show is geared to male empowerment, then that's what you need to look for. Now, I'm going to bring up the screen, guys, of something that I broke down, and I want you guys to listen. And once again, thank you guys for joining in. I appreciate it. I got a good show on tomorrow if I decide to do it. You guys gonna love that show. You're gonna really love it. But let me see, where's this topic here? Hold on for a minute, guys. Let me see if I can find it. All right, here we go, brothers and sisters. Here we go. Is it loading up? All right. So, Jada, guys, is a byproduct of the modern woman. The case for Jada. She's selfish. You guys are beginning to see how Jada Pickett has been using the media for her own selfish reasons. She's selfish. She has Jezebel traits. She lacks empathy for her husband. Her needs are first. She's very rebellious, and she's very emasculating. This is the case for Jada Pickett Smith. Jada Pickett Smith is the main archetype. And more recently, guys, there was discussion about Jada where she was trying to ask for, hold on a minute, Jada Pickett has something to do. She pleaded with Chris Rock and Will Smith to reconcile. And that seems very suspect, because why would Chris Rock reconcile with Jada Pickett Smith? Let's go into it, guys. Let's go into it. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read some of it anyway. And let's see what Chris Rock thinks about Jada Pickett Smith. Hold tight. Let's see what he thinks about her. Hold tight. I'm going to bring that back up. And hopefully they won't censor me on this. This is fair use. So here we go. Here we go, guys. All right, so this woman had every opportunity to protect her husband and to protect his image. But instead, when Chris Rock did what he did, some say it was staged, she poked her mouth out like a duck. She got her husband caught up in the sway. I would say she used some Machiavellian traits to get her husband caught up. Jada Pickett Smith pleads for Chris Rock and Will Smith to reconcile. And hear how Chris Rock responded. Will Smith's famous slap is more than 2 months old, but the pair is making headlines again. And see, she's not a woman of principle, in my opinion. But the pair is making headlines again after Jada Pickett Smith broke her silence on the incident recently on the assault at the Red Table Talk, which discussed alopecia. But Chris Rock could care less about her remarks. A source tells ET that Chris is paying no attention to Jada's plea to help Real and Chris reconcile. Why would you want to reconcile with a person like that? Chris Rock might forgive him at some point, but you can never be friends with people like that again. I'm going to teach you men something. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. I'm going to say it again. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. You can forgive a person, but you don't have to reconcile with those people. You don't have to be in a relationship with them. If somebody do you wrong, I used to think, well, they say I'm sorry, you got to stay friends. But no, you don't have to. And you take your time when you decide to forgive them, depending on the offense. Ideally, the quicker you forgive them, the more you can move on if they ask for forgiveness. But you don't have to do it. You don't have to be friends with them again. And that's what people get confused. He said he's not concerned with Will Smith's comments. He said he's torn to prepare for his comments. So let's look at what E.T. said about this.
My deepest hope is that these two intelligent, capable men have an opportunity to heal, talk this out, and reconcile.
Chris Rock isn't paying attention to these recent comments from Jada Pinkett Smith. E.T. is learning new details.
And that's why I told you guys, you got to change the law of your mind. You got to change the law in your mind. Once you begin to change the law in your mind, then you don't become a slave to their shenanigans. Shout out to GC from LA for that $10 super sticker.
That's a bet, right?
And
That's
that
a
is
deal,
a deal,
right?
right?
That's
I
a
appreciate
deal,
it,
right?
Cole
That's
Black,
a
he
bet,
said that
right?
he
That's a
habitual
deal,
feeling
right?
of
That's a
women's
deal, right?
tendency to go for men with the dark triad traits. Yes. Hence the bad boy image in all races, aka Billy who rides Harleys, drink whiskey versus Thuggo versus Jose, etc. Yes, sir. Excellent point. Excellent point. Excellent point. And you're right. Jada definitely got dark energy. She has very dark energy. But once again, let me claim fair use. I hope they don't hit me with this, but anyway. Fair use, guys. Fair use. Let me hit the fair use button. This is for education. This is for education, guys. For education only. Fair use, if I can find it. All right, here we go. Fair use. It's for fair use. And you're right, sweet Lulu Bean. Luke Cage, she is or does have dark energy, just like Amber Heard. I agree with you 1,000% there. You're correct. She has very dark energy, and it looks like Machiavellianism. She's part of that dark triad. So fair use.
About the comedian's mindset following Jada's plea for he and Will Smith to reconcile following the Oscar slap. A source tells ET Chris is currently touring and preparing for a comedy special. and, quote, he is not concerned with the Smiths at the moment. The source adds, quote, Chris is the most genuine person ever. Nothing he does is calculated or phony, and he is not caught up in the Hollywood scene. He is focusing on himself. So it seems Will and Chris won't be having a sit down anytime soon.
And that's what you guys gotta do with these modern day narcissistic women. When you begin to restructure your thinking, and when you begin to see how some of these women have infected you with mentally transmitted diseases, shout out to Edward Anderson for that term. But when you begin to see how women have infected you with mentally transmitted diseases, then you begin to see things for what it is. Once you see things for what it is, you no longer get caught up in the web of their ignorance. That's why when you are focused on your purpose, you don't have time to do no table talks and sit down and deal with apologies. The best thing you can do with modern women is to ignore them, the ones that are not worthy. Now, there are good modern women that are traditional. They have good hearts. You give those women your time, but you give them your time within reason as well, because your purpose comes first. But those are good women, they're good women, and they're striving to do the right things. You go support those women. I told you guys before in the past, if you can't find your wife here in America, you go abroad with the understanding that women in other countries got beat mess too, but that is better trained or better conditioned to honor and serve their men. Keep listening.
Despite Jada's message on Red Table Talk.
Now about Oscar night.
Breaking her silence about the controversy at the Red Table, Jada shares her hope about where the two men can go from here.
My deepest hope is that these two intelligent, capable men have an opportunity to heal, talk this out, and reconcile. The state of the world today, we need them both. And we all actually need one another more than ever. Until then, Will and I are continuing to do what we have done for the last 28 years. And that's keep figuring out this thing called life together.
Following the message, Jada got some harsh feedback.
This is going to be difficult for me. These are my peers.
Vivica A. Fox, who was guest hosting the Wendy Williams show, got visibly upset while sharing her reaction to Jada's comments.
I've done a movie with both of them. Set It Off with Jada and Independence Day with Will Smith, which absolutely changed my life. When I saw this video last night, it made me cry. I'll be very honest with you guys.
Vivica goes on to explain why she thinks Jada had a role in the infamous slap. You'll recall.
Boom. You guys heard it. You guys heard it. Manipulation at its core. Manipulation at its core. She had a role in the infamous slap. But now she wants them to apologize. Once again, guys, that's the dark triad of Machiavellianism. Like Machiavelli used influence and power, Jada is manifesting dark triad traits. She's not genuine because she still has the spirit of the serpent. She's a woman as old as she is. She's a granny serpent. She is a granny serpent. Yeah, she's a granny serpent. And that's why you can't believe, guys, nothing that they say. Will Smith is more of an empath. And once again, guys, empaths tend to be victims of snake whisperers. You know, empaths are nurturing. Men can be empaths too. But they're very pernicious and they're very tactical in how they usurp or more or less cause a person to fall down the rabbit hole. And that's why you men got to be extremely careful, because this woman, after she calls her husband all this distress, is talking about sitting down and talking. Where was that when you had the opportunity to stand up? And see, Vivica is crying because now she's seeing that Jada is a snake whisperer. Jada think what she's doing is right because Jada guys have... She has ego syntonia. She has a syntonic ego. She thinks what she's doing is normal because she's delusional. And you got to be aware of these kind of women, guys, because they could cause havoc in your lives. Keep listening.
Will slapped Chris after he made a joke about Jada's shaved head, a joke that didn't go over well with Jada, who's made it publicly known she struggles with alopecia, a hair loss disorder.
I felt to be a good partner, there was no accountability. Will Smith.
You heard what Vivica Fox said. She said there was no accountability. And accountability to modern women is like the Medusa Complex. The Medusa Complex, once again, to the ones that just came in, is a complex that happens when a woman holds the mirror up at herself and she becomes petrified of what she sees. Medusa, when she will look at the people, she will cause them to turn to stone. Medusa herself became stone when Pegasus took the mirror and he turned into her and she turned to stone. And so women that have the Medusa complex, they cannot look at themselves because if they looked at themselves, they were cracked. And so when you try to tell them about right and wrong, when you try to tell them about what they're doing is wrong, they don't want to hear it, guys, because they have a condition called cognitive dissonance. Yeah, they can't hear it or see it because they are deaf. As I said before in the past, they deny the evidence when you present it to them. They become enraged when you present them with the evidence. They argue, do ad hominem attacks where they attack the messenger instead of the message. And they will fight you or flee. They fight or they just leave you alone altogether because their ego can't handle it because, once again, their ego is syntonic. People that are going through mental distress want what's called a dystonic ego. They don't like how they're feeling. People that have bipolar disorder, they have what's called a dystonic ego. They don't like the feeling of being bipolar. People that are depressed, I'll even say people that have hallucinations and people that have schizophrenia. If they're aware of it, they don't like the feeling of hearing voices and having auditory and visual hallucinations. They don't like it. But see, when you have a delusional personality, then you think what you're feeling is normal. And a lot of modern women are walking around with undiagnosed mental illness or traits that look like the dark triad of Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and also narcissism.
Was defending her honor. That was the reason he walked on stage and slapped, because he felt like his wife had been offended. Mm-hmm. So for me to see no accountability as a partner, I have love for the Smiths. I know their children. I've watched them grow up. I just wish that we could have had a little bit more accountability, and for it to not seem so self-righteous on Jada's part. And that's my feelings.
This also comes after Jada's first public appearance in the scandal's aftermath. She showed her support for Shonda Rhimes at the grand opening of Rhimes Performing Arts Center in Los Angeles.
Jada, how are you doing? Good? You good? Jada,
and there you have it. There you have it. The Medusa Complex. And, you know, some of you guys just came in. I want you guys to see this clip that I did. It's talking about the Medusa Complex. And it'll give you a better clarity to what's going on in these modern relationships. Because once again, if you're not careful, you'll begin to ask yourself the question, what was I thinking about? So look at the clip if you're just coming in. Some of you didn't see it, but I'm going to play it again. I need you guys to check it out.
It's often been said that art imitates life. And when art imitates life, it asks us the question, why are we seeing the things that we're beginning to see? In this show of The Kosher Clinician, we will be exploring the dark triad and the dark triad personality traits that are often seen in modern women. We will be exploring Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and also narcissism, as those three traits appear to be prevalent in modern times. We're going to explore the definitions associated with those three variables, but also we're going to be exploring some of the celebrities that could or more or less appear to have some of those traits. As I said earlier on this stream with Art Imitate Life, it appears that later in the past that some of the women that we're going to be talking about, like Meg Stallion, Monique, and Jada Pickett, is a reflection of modern women. Did you guys know that the vibrations that other people send out as signals can more or less be impacted inside the psyche of a man through subliminal cues or also due to subconscious? We're going to explore how the Medusa Complex, a term that I created, defies or more or less explains some of the behaviors associated with modern women, as many modern women appear to have the Medusa Complex. The Medusa Complex is a complex that often leaves many women petrified when they look within the mirror. They can't see themselves because if they saw what they really are, then they will actually crack under pressure. And many would say that the Medusa Complex is a byproduct of a condition called cognitive dissonance. But that's not the topic of the show. The topic of the show is to explore why many appear to have the Medusa Complex. And could it be that the Medusa Complex is a byproduct of the dark triad, which in essence includes Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism? Sit back, relax, and enjoy this show as I bring it to you live from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. And I need you men to remember this as we seek to bring balance to the union as it relates to relationships in modern times. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. Have you been a victim of the dark triad forces that more or less have invaded your life? Have you been a victim of modern women that seek not only to understand your needs as men, but more or less aggrandize their needs at the behest of yours? Enjoy this show, support the show, share the stream, and let's get this show popping. Be well.
All right, guys, that's was the intro earlier to the show, and it helps explain to those that's tuning in lately about the meta madness associated with dating and modern relationships. So let's get back to the issue with Jada. So Jada is selfish. She has, once again, a Jezebel trait. Let me go back. Hold tight. Let me go back. Jada's selfish, Jezebel trait, manipulative. She lacks empathy. Her needs are first, rebellious, and emasculating. Hold tight. All right, the case for Monique. We talked about Monique last night. We talked about her a little bit. Monique was a victim of sexual abuse by her brother. Some could argue because of that Monique is projecting out of the pain that she went through. She has a necessity need to be right. Monique burned bridges with others. Monique is an eternal victim. She projects her anger in appearance, and Monique has narcissistic traits. Might even have some Machiavellianism and some levels of psychopathy as well. Once again, I'm not diagnosing anyone, but we're talking about the traits. And you guys are beginning to see it manifest right before your eyes. And then you have the case for Meg Stallion. Meg Stallion, guys, you guys saw it. She caused a lot of consternation with Tory Lane. And women like her can be very dangerous. Meg Stallion is part of the rebellion that you see in a lot of these young women. And, you know, when you hear women saying, I don't cook and I don't clean, they are basically women that say that I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm going to do what's best for me, and I'm not going to follow no man's lead. And you guys have seen the lyrics of Meg Stallion. Her words and her lyrics are not synonymous with being a virtuous and a wholesome woman. Her lyrics have led a lot of young women and other women astray. So once again, she is an agent of promiscuity. Her and Cardi B wrote the song, I Don't Cook and I Don't Clean. She's an agent of promiscuity. She is an agent of rebellion. Women that more or less seek to do what they want to do and not be held accountable are agents of rebellion. She's an agent of narcissism. She's an agent of selfishness. She put Tory Lane up in a very precarious situation. And Tory Lane as well, he put his own self because he shouldn't be dealing with a woman like Meg Stallion. She's an agent of chaos. She was vengeful towards Tory Lane, and she promotes shameless behavior. You got good women that try to lead women into the right direction. You got good women that try to teach women how to become accountable. And many times they will shame those women or try or attempt to shame those women to silence because they want to continue to do what they want to do. And so Dr. Jeffrey Garland, he's a psychotherapist. We're going to go do this, and this is fair use. He's going to talk about, once again, some of the issues with...
They have 3 questions on selfies.
Selfies and the media. This guy is a licensed therapist like myself, but he's a doctor, by the way. He's a psychiatrist. And Dr. Garland, once again, fair use, is going to talk about and give you guys a framework to what to look for, guys, in modern women and selfies, because once again, selfies feed the Medusa Complex. Selfies feed ego centonius. So I want you guys to listen to him. I hope he doesn't bore you guys out. But I think you guys will love what he's saying. Listen.
What is the relationship between selfies and narcissism? What is the relationship between selfies and personality? And will selfies destroy the world? Right? That one sounds a little scary, but I will get to the answer. With the advent of the smartphone.
And think about what he's saying. Will selfies destroy the world? Will selfies destroy the world? That's why average good men have a hard time finding women, because they have so many choices. Social media and the cell phone has caused a lot of average women to think they're superior to average men. And it's because you have these psycho simps, or these simp surfers, because they were raised under matriarchies, they got the spirit of the hyena. And so there are good men that want women, but they feel like they can't find a good woman because, it's hard to find. And Dr. Garland is like Luke Cage says, very technical, but if you listen, you'll understand what he's saying. He's a PhD, but hopefully he won't bore you guys out, but keep listening. Fair use.
And its increasing capabilities, self-photography has become popular. The term selfie was added to the Oxford Dictionary in 2013. It is defined as a photograph that one has taken of oneself, typically one taken with a smartphone or webcam and shared via social media. So looking at this definition, the only thing really required is somebody taking a picture of themselves. It doesn't have to be shared on social media. This distinction becomes important later on. Now, to kind of hone in on the area of narcissism, the question about narcissism, I often talk about pathological narcissism. That would be like narcissistic personality disorder or a level of narcissism that interferes with functioning. But there is also a subclinical narcissism, which is far more common. This is the narcissism we see every day in many people. Some of this type of narcissism is adaptive, and some of it is maladaptive. Here, what I'm really talking about is the whole range of narcissism, the continuum from one end to the other, from mild narcissism to extreme narcissism, mostly focusing on grandiose narcissism as opposed to vulnerable. But I will talk about vulnerable a little bit. There are a number of ways that researchers study narcissism. A popular method is to use the Narcissistic Personality Inventory. This divides narcissism into 3 facets. Leadership authority, I'll just refer to this as leadership. This is a desire for power. Somebody's driven if they have this. It's usually not pathological, but it certainly can be. The next facet is grandiose exhibitionism. I'll just call this grandiose. It's characterized by vanity, a sense of superiority, and self-love. The last facet is exploitative entitlement. I'll just call this entitlement. We see, of course, here a sense of entitlement and a willingness to manipulate others.
And that's what you're seeing in many modern women, entitlement and exploitative. That's why guys are so reluctant to get into marriages now, not because they don't want to get married, but they know that many have not been conditioned to be in relationships where they follow their husband's lead.
People. Typically, this is considered the most maladaptive and much more likely to be pathological. In general, narcissism tends to be more common in men than in women, and it tends to decrease with age somewhat. Given the characteristics of narcissism, it's not surprising to see that it has been connected with selfie-taking. This is an area where some people have done research. Interestingly, we see a lot of mixed findings, not only on selfie-taking and narcissism, but also with selfie-taking related to gender and related to age. I'll be relying mostly on a study that really tried to overcome a lot of methodological problems with examining the relationship. This study focused on emerging adults, age 17 to 29, with an average age of 20. It's also important to look at motivation. There are a lot of different motivations to take a selfie. Not all of them would connect to narcissism. A few reasons that somebody might take a selfie: to provide information about themselves to others, escapism, to facilitate a sense of belonging, conformity, or it could be part of their job. Now, in terms of gender differences, males and females take selfies at equal rates, but females take significantly more selfies that include other people in the shot. So how about the tendency to take selfies alone or with others? Well, the way this was studied was to compare individuals who had a high level of narcissism to those who had a low level on all three of the facets. Again, leadership, grandiose, and entitlement. So the results here...
So once again, guys, you can have narcissistic traits, but you're not a bona fide narcissist. There's a difference between having a narcissistic personality disorder and having traits. Many modern people, men and women, have the traits, but they're not bona fide narcissists. Keep listening.
Interesting because it's different based on facet. I'm really going to focus on just one facet that really stood out. The grandiose exhibitionism facet really had different results than the other two. Women scoring high in this facet took the same number of selfies with others as women scoring low, but twice as many selfies alone as women who scored low. Men scoring high in this facet took more selfies with others and almost 4 times as many selfies alone. It would appear that grandiose exhibitionism type narcissism is associated with taking more selfies alone. Now, how about motive? I talked about this before. Why do people take selfies? To study this, the researchers collected responses to a survey and then divided up the information into themes or patterns. About 30% of the responses were narcissistic, so 30% of the motives. We saw no gender difference here. Men and women were equally likely to report a narcissistic motive. So 70% of the responses did not involve a narcissistic motive. Some of the non-narcissistic motives included sharing a connection, boosting self-esteem, documenting memories, and conforming. I touched on that earlier. From other studies, we see another popular motive model for selfies includes attention-seeking, communication, archiving, and entertainment as 4 main motives. Some research shows that communication is the most common reason people post selfies, with attention-seeking being the next most common. The communication motive is not considered to be narcissistic. Only the attention-seeking motive would have some connection to narcissism. So going back to the original study, this study also found that individuals who appear to lack narcissistic tendencies may still have those tendencies manifest in special circumstances, like when posting selfies to social media. So some people may behave in a narcissistic way sometimes, even...
And I want you guys to be careful to my single male. A woman that's constantly posting pictures on Facebook, IG, or anywhere, she's dressed scantily clad, she is addicted to attention. And those kind of women you got to be very careful with, guys, because when things get hard in the relationship, she's going to be, how can I say, she's going to be tempted to get that attention from other men. And in my opinion, a woman that's getting that kind of attention from other men, it's a cheater in my opinion. Let's look at this. The non-traditional modern woman. Selfish. She lacks self-awareness. She's promiscuous. She lacks accountability. She's very slanderous. She will slander your name when she can't get what she wants. Mr. Palmer talked about the baby mama terrorist. She's rebellious. She's very fatherless. Many are fatherless. They always blame everybody and they don't look at themselves. They're very vengeful. Her principles, her feelings over principle. That's why I told you, men, you gotta have principles. Many are indoctrinated with liberal dogmas. They have thinking errors. They have cognitive dissonance. unresolved vicarious trauma through by what her mom went through, and many have a secret hate for men. They actually hate men, but they abuse men because they saw their dad run away. They saw their dad hurt them. I believe that's what Cynthia G is dealing with. But this, once again, guys, is typical of the modern woman. Keep listening.
No, they don't actually have the personality trait. This is actually fairly important. It hints that there could be a reciprocal relationship. So here's the theory behind that. Here we see someone who's not narcissistic, but they act narcissistic specifically around the area of selfies. So essentially they are repeatedly entering into a state of narcissism, even though they lack the trait of narcissism. So again, kind of manifesting the behaviors temporarily, but they don't do it as a tendency. The concern here is that if one repeats a state, it sometimes becomes a trait. Just like if somebody's angry repeatedly over the course of several months, they could become trait angry. So we know that narcissism may predict taking selfies, but it also may be the case that taking selfies could predict narcissism. Again, a reciprocal relationship. I'll talk more about this theory toward the end of the video. So now looking at some other areas of personality. So here I'm moving on to other studies that examine these topics. Now I mentioned narcissism runs on a continuum. At the extreme of grandiose narcissism, that's where we see narcissistic personality disorder. There are 10 personality disorders. The only other personality disorder associated with selfie taking is histrionic, but it only has this association.
So I'm glad Dr. Grant got this. I was going to actually post it, but he got it. But these are cluster A, cluster B, and cluster C. Histrionic personality disorder, guys, many times is a byproduct of a woman seeking attention. Actually, I have something on that. Hold tight, guys. I'm going to show it to you. I did a show talking about the different disorders, and one of them is definitely histrionic personality disorder. Hold tight if I can find it. Hold tight. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. All right, so guys, this is a byproduct of the modern relationship. Selfish, lacks vision, me first. This goes back to the Medusa Complex, the social media trap, guys. Social media trap. Social media validates their narcissistic supply. High expectations and lower returns. They expect you to give, but they never give nothing back in return. Shout out to my man Fawcett Media. He said that it used to be looking in the mirror all day. Now it's selfieism. Yes, sir. That's part of the narcissist spirit. Too many options. You know, some of you men think you're going to change some of these women. Unless you set strict parameters and is able to pull up with her shaming language, you're not going to be able to change many of them. They got to want to change. And they have so many options now. They can have 100 guys in their DM. And I said before in the past, just because you got 100 options in your DM, it doesn't mean that those men want you for marriage. And some of the women that are dealing with it, they got some understand and some don't care. And all of those 100 men that are giving them free attention, that's why you men should never give your free attention. Only 5 or 10 of those men, she might see them as potential sex partners or even for a relationship long term. But that's why you guys got to change the law in your mind, because if you don't, you will become a slave. Once again, too many options. What you give her is never enough. She is carnal, hypergamous. What Dr. Grant is talking about, she has narcissistic traits. She lacks awareness. She's an eternal victim, and you are her fallback plan. You know, she don't really care about you. You're just a means to an end. You know, gas prices, guys, are rising. Inflation is going up high. And some of these women are going to come knocking on your door because they want to use you as a sucker to help them pay for their bills. They don't love you and they don't even care about you, but they'll use you as a sucker because they know that so many men have low self-esteem that they'll fall for the hype. Keep listening. And That's why I, support Coach Greg Adams on what he's doing. Free agent versus fatalism. Some would say that men are fatalists for running away from relationships, but it's not because men are fatalists, they are pragmatists. They see things for what it is. Married men of divorces are more prone to suicide. Divorce rates are 45% and 7 to 90% about women. Paternity fraud, child support court, liberal dogmas reduces rational male thought. I'm going to say it again. Liberal dogmas reduce rational male thought. When you send some of your kids to these universities now, their worldviews are very liberal. And if you're not careful, they'll have you thinking that you're crazy. They will try to suppress your masculinity as a man. And, when you try to present your argument, because these women have the Medusa Complex, and they also have what's called egocentria, they don't want to hear what you're saying. They think that you're crazy. But they're the ones that are crazy because they're very syntonic with their ego. And many can't hear you because they have cognitive dissonance. Yeah, and so once again, divorce rates are 45% and 45 and 7. Divorce rates are 45% and 7 to 90% are about women. Women that are educated initiate divorces at a higher rate. Paternity fraud, child support. Modern women consciously or unconsciously suppress masculinity. Some are not aware of what they're doing, but they teach you to more or less be servile. And they teach you to suppress your masculinity. At your masculine hard drive, you know something is wrong, but you don't say anything because you don't want to hurt her feelings. And so that's why I told you guys, when you are a slave to your purpose, you won't be caught up in the idolatry of worshiping a woman's feelings. Keep listening. This is Dr. Helen Smith. Dr. Helen Smith said women's groups follow a double standards. When women lag behind men, it is an injustice that must be aggressively targeted. But when men are lagging behind women, that is a triumph of equity to be celebrated. Dr. Helen Smith is a white doctor, and she's an advocate for male rights. Some women are waking up and realizing that something is wrong in this culture. But see, like I told you guys, the non-traditional woman is an eternal victim. They always see men as the problem instead of looking at themselves. But they can't look at themselves because they have the Medusa Complex. And many are ruminating under the dark triad of personalities. So once again, we talked about the free agent lifestyle. I did a show last week. Free agent equals pragmatism. Free agent says that men are pragmatic. They're not necessarily slaves, but they just see things for what it is. They're not mad. They're not bothered. They just see things for what it is. The free agent men are, some say free agent men are traumatized. Well, some are traumatized. I think Coach Greg was married. And I think he said he took 5 years for him to recover and get back on his feet. Once you lose everything you got and no fault divorce, and it's very traumatizing to a man because men earn their value over the years. Men that are average earn their value with their hard work and their determination. But see, when you become a slave to your mind and a slave to the selfish feelings of a modern woman, then you can get caught up in a level of mediocrity. Free agent men understand modern women. Free agent men understand the bait and switch. Many do the bait and switch. Most women are on their best behaviors when they're girlfriends. But once you say, I do, now she knows she got you on the hook. The sex stops to the point it decreases 100%. Many men are in sexless marriages. Some men only have sex. Sexless marriages are marriages when men only have had sex 10 times. 10 times in a year. Can you imagine being married to a woman? You paying all the bills, you paying bills, you cutting grass, and she gives you sex when she feels like it. Once again, not based on what she needs to do, but she's going to give you sex when she feel like it. And that's why I told you, man, when you get married, you need to get married to a woman that knows how to control how she feels. A woman is not wife ready if she does not have mastery over her feelings, because men can be slaves to their penis, but many women can be slaves to their feelings. If she's not cerebral and balanced, then she's a slave to her feelings. Because imagine if you told your woman, I don't feel like cutting grass. I don't feel like paying bills. I don't feel like changing the oil in the car. I don't feel like washing the car. I don't feel like feeding that dog. I don't feel like defending the house because somebody broke in. Men don't do things based on how they feel primarily, but in general, if he's a masculine man, men do things based on principle. Principle, pragmatism, and logic tends to rule the minds of men. Men are mostly 80% logical and about 20% emotional. Women tend to be 80% emotional and about 20% logic. It doesn't mean that women can't be logical, because there are some logical women. I've met them. But in general, we talk about on average, they tend to be more emotional. Free agent men are skeptical and they deal with women in regard to reason. Free agent men are just wise. On average, raising kids and not yours is stressful. That's why men are against getting in relationships when the women have children, because her child's going to come first. Well, first, her child, many times, her job, then her, and you're going to come in fourth place. It's not a good deal for a single man, because you end up being a step. And I'm going to do a show on that at some point. I'm going to also do a show called Alone in Marriage. Married and alone. Shout out to the Ingham Experience. Him and I talked about it. But alone, married, and alone. There are a lot of men that are married, but they feel alone. They don't feel loved, because many of them are going through something called affection deprivation. They don't even know what it's like to get a hug from a woman. They don't know what it's like for a woman to rub their head or to rub their feet and do it genuinely, not having an agenda. They don't know what it's like to get a back rub. They don't know what it's like for a woman to say, baby, how was your day? And be genuine without having an ulterior motive. Because see, women by nature are survivalists. They have to survive. They're master survivalists. They use manipulation to survive. Because physically, most average women can't deal with an average man in strength. So they have to manipulate you. And you have to be aware of that. After 4 years of marriage, only 48% want marriage. Men and fathers are not honored in media and homes. Father's Day is coming up soon. And many times they're not honored. That modern culture abhors traditionalism. And once again, these women are byproducts of psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism to those that are coming in. Free agent versus faith. There are some men that are godly men. Their practices of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and also the Hebrew Israelites. I believe in the tenets of Christ. You believe what you want to believe. I'm not here to try to assuage or more or less push religion on nobody. Believe what you want to believe. But there are men that say, because I love God, they don't want to fornicate. They want to do the right thing. But free agent lifestyle is very tempting, because they say, in theory, free agent makes a lot of sense. But because I'm trying to live right, I can't do everything with free agent, because I'm trying to live by the tenets of faith. But men that are real about faith may object because of sexual sin. Men that never had kids men that never had kids see kids as a faith mandate. And free agent and celibate, they want to be free agent and celibate, but it's difficult. It's hard to be a free agent and not get sex. Many free agents are out here getting it in. And, it is what it is. I understand. But that's the great conundrum, or the great conniption.
Then you get this beta male energy.
And shout out to Coach Greg Adams. Shout out to him. Shout out to that brother. He was at the 22 convention.
I call it beta male lives matter, or black lesbians matter. That's what I call it, because it's the truth. Okay? You got people out here that they done this in 1990. I was there. 1960. We're going to keep applying the same strategy, run out into your neighborhood and blow it up. Why are we doing this? Because there's no fathers there to tell them, sit your ass down. You're not a victim. I'm going to impute into you success. But they remove so many fathers that these beta males run out here thinking that they're doing something. Okay? The spirit of Jezebel. If you guys go to my channel and you want to review one video, review the video. Just say Coach Greg Adams. And I think I called it Jazzy Bell, #1, to get around the YouTube algorithm censorship. And I also did it to jazz it up a little bit. Jazzy Bell. But the spirit of Jezebel, they released the song, Wet Ass Peace Leave is what I call it on my channel. See, one of the worst things to happen to gender dynamics is this. They put a smartphone with a camera into women's hands. That was disastrous for relationships and gender dynamics. From there, she can worship herself. She can broadcast to other people to worship her. So much so that if she has a spouse, a boyfriend, or whoever, people pursuing them, they cannot match the attention that she can get on her own.
Right, guys? It's a zero-sum game. That's why if a woman is really serious about being in a marriage, if you want to set the mandate, she's going to try and say you're insecure, but you're not insecure because it's too much power. So if she's really serious, you got to tell her, listen, you got to come off social media. If she's willing to come off social media, unless it's for business, then that woman is ready for marriage. But see, these women many times when, they're not getting that narcissistic supply, they got to find somebody, a simp, to make them feel good. That's why they dress provocative and, breast out and all that, because they are addicted to attention. Just like when you get likes on YouTube, it's a dopamine rush. It's a dopamine rush for these women to get the attention. The creator of Facebook even knew and know that he wouldn't allow his own children to be on Facebook because cell phones and social media are forms of dopamine rush. It's almost like electronic gaming addictions. They get very addicted. They're very addicted to it. And so as a man, you can't focus on your purpose while you're worrying about is my woman on social media is trying to get attention from other men. Because watch this, a righteous woman that's truly spiritual is a woman that has mastery over her flesh, over her eye gate and her ear gate. She knows how to follow under the lead of her husband. And she understands that the mission of her husband's family is important. He don't have time to hold her hand every day. Even though I know the man is over the woman, he should cover her. He does not have time to be wondering about what she's doing. She's a responsible, mature woman. She knows how to self-regulate because her heart is for her husband. Keep listening.
Cannot match the attention that she can get via Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all of these vehicles to broadcast herself for women's worship. And the beta males are eating it up. See, this cult was designed to destroy manhood and drag womanhood into shame. The spirit of Jezebel. You had so many women supporting this. And the worst of it were older women were saying, yeah.
Right. Older women. That's what we call the granny serpents. And see, Gen X women started a lot of the mess that you're seeing now. They were the torch carriers. They weren't as bad, but Gen X women were getting it in too, guys. They ain't innocent. They were just more shameful. They just hid it better. The millennials and the zennials, they just don't care. They let you know what they're doing. They ain't got no shame in their game. But shout out to Top Gun because he's right. You got to watch out for these granny serpents because these granny serpents will have you caught up. And when you least expect it, the granny serpent will attack you because she don't like what you're saying. Women that don't understand structure and order, when masculine men begin to speak out, they will say it's toxic. They will rebel against you because many have never seen strong fathers in their homes. Many have never seen strong relationships, and many don't know how to respond because anything that's synonymous with masculinity is an affront to the dark triad, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and also narcissism. They can't handle it. They can't handle it because it does not justify their satanic ego. Keep listening.
I'm in it too. I want to throw my wet peace leave out there too. And they can. You'll have 25-year-olds come over and blow your back out with no problem. But if you study the natural order, if you study Jezebel in the Bible, her dependency on manipulation was to have weak men worship her so she can manipulate them.
And I might do a show called Jezebel and the Dark Triad and break it down, because Jezebel definitely has some narcissism. She has some psychopathy. And also Jezebel was a Machiavellian. She had Machiavellian traits. She used the political influence to get her power. She was power hungry. And you have to be very keen, guys, when you deal with some of these women, because you can lose everything that you have, and you could end up bankrupt mentally and financially because you don't know what to look for. And some of the good women that are listening, you need to be aware as well, because some of these men are snake whisperers. Keep listening.
She selected a weak husband who was the king of Israel, King Ahab, and he manipulated him. This is common of what we see in today's marriages. Women holding out. Then she throws a half-court buzzer beater, or what in football terms would be is a Hail Mary. And at the last moment, when the eggs dry up like the Sahara Desert, she tries to select a mate, most times a weak male. And she parades him around because he's easily manipulated. This has been written in the Bible already. She had the weakest king. And it established the basis of weak marriages today. Do we see weak marriages? They certainly are strong. Look at the statistics. They're not strong. They're weak. Why? We're selecting weak men. The domineering wife will soon master the weak husband and enter in what the Bible referred to with Jezebel as immorality. Do we see that today? Immorality and idolatry. The worship of false gods, the worship of women. That was what the story of Jezebel is. If you guys want to look at that, go ahead and go back into the Bible, okay? The man that opposed her was a man called, anybody? We don't have people that walk in the faith and spirit of God here. Neither do I, but I'm not a religious person.
His name was Jehu.
Her opposition was a man called Elijah, who called
Jehu
her
and Elijah,
out
right,
for her idolatry and immorality. I'm Elijah right now today for this hour. What did they do to Elijah? Well, the weak king Ahab drove him out into the desert. Said, we're not going to listen to this. They called him a woman hater. They called him an anti-feminist. They called him everything but a liar, and drove him out into the desert so they could come out here and continue to do this. What has it led to? What's happening next? Oh, this doesn't have anything to do with the next thing. Shelter the umbrella of accountability and responsibility. Oh, it doesn't? This doesn't connect? Interesting. Interesting. Because it connects in my brain.
And so once again, the level of accountability, that's the Medusa Complex. They can't look at themselves, because if they look at themselves, they will snap. They can't hear you because they have cognitive dissonance.
Because I'm using logic. I'm using evidence. The Jezebel was defiant until the end. When the new king came and told her.
Right, so you guys saw it. That was Coach G. And shout out to my man, Truth is never favored, no doubt. But I'm going to let you guys finish listening to what this brother
males,
said.
not females. Now, vulnerable narcissism is kind of interesting. It's a little bit like borderline personality disorder. We see with vulnerable narcissists, they tend to take a number of selfies, but they don't really share them at the same rate. Now, that's more from my clinical experience and not something found in the research literature. I mentioned earlier how a selfie just requires somebody actually taking the picture of themselves, and sharing it is not technically required. So that's why this is important to understand vulnerable narcissism. Somebody could be taking a lot of selfies, but not really work up the nerve, the courage to put them out into a public environment, or even among a large number of people. Vulnerable narcissism is highly connected to shame and insecurity, and later on we're going to see some results with the 5-factor model that shows the connection to neuroticism, which really supports this idea that vulnerable narcissists take pictures but don't necessarily share them. So what is the personality profile associated with selfie taking? So using the 5-factor model, we see there are 5 big traits. I remember them through the acronym OCEAN: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So we can really look at this 2 ways. We can look at selfie posting and selfie editing. It's a separate area that's studied. But really, both of these constructs have the same personality profile. We see no association with openness to experience. There's a positive relationship with extroversion. So if somebody's highly extroverted, they're more likely to post selfies and to edit selfies before posting them. With conscientiousness, we don't really see any relationship, and we see a positive relationship with agreeableness. Now, neuroticism, we see a negative relationship. So somebody who's highly neurotic would be less likely to post selfies or to edit selfies. So what about motive? I talked before about how the most common motive was communication, with attention-seeking coming in second. This is overall, but it's different based on which personality trait you're talking about. So again, going through the 5 factors, we see no relationship with openness. High extroversion is associated with posting selfies for the purpose of seeking attention. Conscientiousness, no relationship. Highly agreeable individuals post selfies to communicate and archive, so to preserve the memory. Highly neurotic people tend to avoid selfie posting altogether. So what are my thoughts overall about selfies and narcissism? Will selfies end up destroying the world? This question comes about, I think, because of this idea that selfies could increase narcissism, the idea I talked about before, that theory. So rather than just being an indication of narcissism, selfie taking may cause it. I'm not really convinced by this argument. Clearly, there is a relationship between selfies and narcissism, but the main motive, in my opinion, is really communication. I think it's also about quantity. Many people take selfies regularly. It's really a matter of how many somebody's taking. So if somebody's taking 3 or 4 times as many selfies as other people, and their motivation is primarily narcissistic in nature, that's not a great sign. That behavior could be reinforcing narcissism. But if somebody takes a reasonable number of selfies to communicate, to capture memories, and to entertain themselves, I don't really see a big problem with that from a mental health or a personality perspective. So will selfies end up destroying the world? Well, I can appreciate the fear about narcissism growing. Narcissism is so dangerous that even if we find something that contributes to it a little bit, we need to be sensitive to that threat. So it makes sense to keep an eye on selfie-taking behavior. It may be a sign of narcissism in some cases, but in most cases, it's really not. Only the grandiose exhibitionism facet is really connected in any meaningful way to selfie-taking. When it comes to behaviors or situations that threaten to destroy the world, taking selfies is going to have to get in line, right? There are a lot of other things that threaten the world more than selfies. I think it's just a matter of prioritizing at some point, and selfie-taking behaviors are way down on the list. I know whenever I discuss topics like narcissism, there will be a variety of opinions. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.
Basically, I'm over 50, and back when I was dating in my 20s,
I'm sorry, I apologize, guys. Once again, I'm an advocate for men, and I want to see men do well. Shout out to my man, to the Young Lion. That's the Young Lion. Sir Hill Speaks. Shout out to that brother. Go check Sir Hill out. He says support and appreciation for the one and only Dakota Clinician. Thank you, brother. Go check out the Young Lion. Sir Hill Speaks. He's a good brother. I really appreciate him, no doubt, man. I appreciate it. But once again, guys, I hope you guys can hear me now. But she is an advocate for relationships and what men need to look for in dating. So hold tight. So a first story of a story of an older man and dealing with narcissistic women. Narcissistic women, guys, can be extremely dangerous. So you need to be on the lookout for it. So listen.
20s and 30s, prior to smartphones and social media, attractive women who were male attention seekers and teasers were frowned upon and disliked, almost shunned. Nowadays, after being married and divorced, I'm dating again and notice that attractive women over 40 and some even over 50 are big-time attention seekers, users, and teasers. Absolutely true. What happened? I feel like they are saying I'm older and I still got it, so I can treat men however I want. Well, for me, that's discouraging. Of course it is. In fact, I have had actual discussions with these women that tell me outright that they only want attractive younger guys and the rest are just friends. So my question is there a way for me to politely deal with these type of egotistical women and pique their interest in me, as well as avoid the friend zone, or should I just give up and walk away? I ask because this is becoming commonplace around here these days. It's super commonplace. And so part of the reason why we have so many older narcissistic women is, of course, because of feminism. So there's a lot more women who are in the workplace, and there's a lot more formally educated women in the workplace. They are making a lot more money than they ever did before. They don't have to.
So once again, guys, fair use, this woman is breaking things down. You guys are beginning to see the manifestation of the dark triad, but also the thinking errors of many modern women. And even women are beginning to see it, guys. This is not a man-hating issue. It's just seeing things for what it is. And many are beginning to realize that something is seriously wrong with society. We're beginning to see it manifest. I've never seen the level of narcissism and behavior that I'm seeing now. So once again, guys, fair use. This is for education purposes only. This is to educate and to bring clarity to the issues that we're seeing now manifesting in society.
Rely on anybody else, and so they don't need a man for money. So now what do you do when you don't need a man for money? You either want him for a legit, deep, meaningful relationship or sex. So if they can just get sex and that's just what they want and they just want someone younger, well, you're not going to convince them otherwise because they don't need you. Sorry, but I know that's the painful truth of it.
And that's why some guys advocate pump and dump. Now, I understand it. There are some brothers that advocate pump and dump, and some will argue against it. But I do see why some people believe in it because, if you're a person of morality and you don't believe in fornication, then of course you don't believe in it. But just to the pragmatist, pump and dump sounds good because they're using you for sex. They don't need you for money or resources anymore because they got their own money. So some would say just pump them and dump them because, that's what they're using you for. And it's a state of the world that we live in, guys. We live in a very dark world now. Up is down and down is up. And if you're trying to find a traditional woman, man, it's hard to find, man. Even traditional women are being influenced by these negative women. And also many of the traditional women, guys, are being influenced by the granny serpents. They're being influenced by granny serpents. And you're right, Cortez, pump and dump. Yeah, you're right. A lot of these women are actually pumping and dumping men. You're right. You're 1,000% correct. I agree with you 1,000%, brother.
So my advice is, walk away. But wait, there's going to be a walk away but in here. I'll give you the but in a little bit. A but in a little bit, yeah. So I encourage men to just walk away. But I also encourage them to walk away and tell these women why, because some of these women can't get younger guys or the type of guys that they want. And if they don't know that it's them, they'll blame men in general, and then we'll continue this vicious cycle of men and women distancing themselves, and then the bridge gets wider. So tell them why you're walking away, but be respectful, because if you're bitter or angry or whatever, if you have a negative emotion, then again, women are just going to put all men in the category of how their experience has been with you. Just like lots of guys say all women are, because the women that they've had experiences with have been like that, even though not all women are. So do tell them, but be respectful so that they can actually maybe learn something and not necessarily blame all men for having learned that, if and when they're ready to open their eyes. If no one tells us why we're getting the result we're getting, we don't always figure it out on our own. We don't always figure it out ever. So we should be told what we're doing wrong, and maybe we can decide for ourselves, whether you're a man or a woman, if you want to change that quality about yourself. But if we're not given the opportunity to know what we're doing wrong or what we could be doing differently, then we're probably not going to change anything. So you're really giving her an opportunity to better herself, even though lots won't. And women are just as egotistically sensitive as men, maybe more so because they're not used to rejection, but we need it. We need it too. Okay, and then of course the other question is, why would you even want someone like this? So yeah, why would you want something like that? Walk away. There are other women in the world who don't need all this kind of attention. If you're lonely and desperate, then you really need to look at yourself, not at the other woman. Like, why are you so lonely and desperate? Yes, we all long for companionship and connection, but if you're willing to compromise your standards, which you should have, if you don't have them, you got to figure those out, then you're not going to end up in a healthy relationship, even if you do find someone who will accept your desperateness and neediness. Also, if you're only shopping in the places where you're finding narcissistic women, older or younger, then you're shopping in the wrong places. So, if you're not even giving the plain Janes a chance, the 6.5s, then you're missing out, because here's what's going to happen. If a woman can make you feel like a king, especially sexually, her attractiveness quality, her value, her sexual market value to you is going to go up. You're going to see her as more attractive than what you originally saw her as. So yeah, good women are not on social media puckering and pouting and putting up porn star shots of themselves. If you see that, that's a red flag.
Right.
Go the other way.
Right.
The reason why you think there are so many narcissistic women in the world is because those are the ones that get the attention. It happens that because you're a guy, you are attracted to the physical. So when you see someone who's overdone or over the top or showing a lot of skin or lots of...
And she's giving you guys the clues to the dark triad. She's giving you the clues to how to deal with social women and social media. She's giving you guys the clue. Hold tight. Boss Don Data say I could scare dudes who think otherwise. Many married women or women with a boyfriend do you think propose me for sex? Your girlfriend approaches me. You thought she was on break. Think about it. Yeah. I hear you. I feel you, brother. You're right. That's a good question, Cortez. I'm trying to type. This computer froze, so I'm trying to do 3 things at one time.
Makeup or acting or posting seductive photos, you're going to notice that. And if you notice that those are the women that get lots of followers, well, that sort of influences your perception of how many narcissistic women are actually out there. Like, my friends don't have those photos on their social media. They don't have thousands and thousands of friends and followers who are just validating them sexually. So, of course, you're not going to see those ones. They don't have public profile.
And guys, I'm going to do a show called The Love I Lost, because there are some good, decent sisters too. I know some of the brothers feel like they're hard to find, but there are some good, decent sisters that got away. And some of you guys came across women that were decent women and they got away. And once you got back out here, you realize it's harder to find quality. But she's giving you guys a conceptual framework of what to look for in some of these modern women, so you won't be a victim of meta madness. And she's breaking it down from a male or trying to let's advocate for men.
For you to drool over. Stop following those kind of girls. Stop it. How to handle. So I did say walk away, and to give them the feedback. Here's how you give feedback or criticism or perceived criticism in a way that is most tolerable to most healthy people. You sandwich it. So it's a love sandwich. You provide the positive quality that you genuinely like and appreciate or admire.
And guys, take it for what it is. Eat the chicken and spit the bones out. I'm going to drop the link in a minute, guys. We're going to have a conversation. But I'm just trying to give you guys a working framework. You might not agree 100% what she's saying, but she does have some clarity. I'm trying to type and bring you guys in. So keep listening, guys.
About the person, and then you put potentially perceived criticism in the middle, and then you buffer it with another slice of compliment in some way that's genuine. So it's not terrible. Here's the sandwich example that I gave for this guy in a particular situation. So I suggest to him that he say to her, as much as you're an amazing woman, and while I love your whatever specific quality that you input there, I don't think this is going to work out between us. I really prefer a woman who doesn't post selfies on social media very often, or whatever it is that you don't like. And even though you're beautiful inside and out, maybe other guys don't mind it, but it's just not the thing for me. You're giving her a compliment, you're saying what you don't like. Depending on her response, will tell you whether or not, she might be amenable to modifying her behavior for you if she cares about you, or if she also doesn't think that behavior is necessary. And then you sandwich it in with another compliment. While you are beautiful, and maybe somebody else won't mind that, but it's not for me.
All right. That's just a working framework. Dr. Todd Grand actually broke it down. But once again, the dark triad. Jezebel had a dark triad trait. The link has been dropped, guys. Let's have a conversation. Have you dealt with a woman that has a dark triad trait? Have you dealt with women that have psychopathy or narcissistic traits? And also, have you dealt with women that have caused you a lot of pain and harm? And how has that pain and harm shaped your reality of what women are like in this world? Have you been a victim of women that have dark triad traits? What do you think about the Jada Pickett Smith fiasco? What do you think about Monique and her escapades? And what do you think about Meg Stallion? Because once again, those women that you see actually project issues associated with negative dark traits, but also, guys, they project issues associated with the Medusa Complex. They can't see themselves. They don't want to see themselves, because if they look at themselves, they will have a schema affliction because they have cognitive dissonance. All right. So, guys, the link has been dropped. Let's have a conversation. How many of you men have been impacted by, how many of you brothers have been impacted by women that have dark triad traits? How many of you brothers have been impacted by these women? Let's have a conversation. How has it shaped your life? How has it more or less done damage to you? What stories or what pain have you suffered from in silence that you didn't tell anybody? You just dealt with it. The link has been dropped. Let's have a conversation. But in the meantime, I'm going to read some of these comments. And you're right, Cortez and Boss Don Data. Yeah, some of them do have a lot of game. Cortez Smith said that he said, I had female co-workers with men or husbands come at me without any fear of people telling them right. Yeah, wow. I would love to hear your story on that, Cortez. Feel free to come up, brother, if you can. Cortez also said, I don't understand how men take women seriously in real life as far as dating. Yeah, and once you become and see the world for what it is, you don't take them serious anymore. You just see it for what it is. You don't get mad. You don't get upset. You're like, whatever. Because you see that a lot of modern women are not capable of loving you the way you need to be loved as a man. That's why I did the show called All for My Man. When a woman is all for her man, then she's not doing the things that some of you men are dealing with. Women in other countries are more better regulated because it's a patriarchy. And the women are trained or more or less socialized to honor and respect their men. So once again, guys, the link has been dropped. Let's talk about the meta madness that's in society. Guys, if you're not donated to the channel, feel free to donate to the channel. I appreciate everything you brothers have done thus far. Donate to the channel. Hold tight. And also share the content. If you have not shared the content, please do so. So, hold tight. So once again, guys, the link has been dropped. Let's have a conversation. What do you think about this topic about the dark triad? What do you think about Monique? What's your take on the typical modern woman? Because some of the brothers that are listening are saying that the modern woman is lost. There is no redeeming value. There is no redeeming hope for the modern woman. And my heart goes out to you brothers, especially these young men, the Zennials and the Millennials that are looking for wives that have traditional values. Because see, a lot of men are modern, but they have traditional worldviews, or they have more or less traditional values. And so my heart goes out to you brothers. Thank you, Cortez, for sharing it, brother. I appreciate it, Cortez. Thank you. But to the 72 that are watching, guys, share the streams. You guys have been doing an awesome job getting the likes up. I appreciate that. The likes are looking good. And you guys are doing an awesome job. Shout out to everyone that's donated tonight. I really appreciate it. I may do a show tomorrow. You guys gonna really love that one. But I might be in the mountains tomorrow. So I don't know for sure. But I do have a very powerful show coming up. It will be a surprise. And I got a lot of other good shows coming up that I want to use to inspire you men as we seek to bring balance in a time when there's so much disruption with up being down and down being up. So the link has been dropped, guys. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it because this is a dialogue, not a monologue. And so let's have a conversation. What do you think about what's going on? What do you think about these modern women? And what do you think about modern relationships? Have you been a victim of the dark triad, and how has it impacted you in a negative way? When you got with this woman, did you have a reflection point where you said to yourself, I've been a victim of meta madness? When you begin to sit down and think about how she hurt you, how she lied to you, how she manipulated you, how she told you that she would never use the secrets that you told her against you. And you had a meta madness moment when you said, oh my goodness, what was I thinking about? So the question remains, what were you thinking about after she broke your heart? What were you thinking about after she lied to you? What were you thinking about when you thought she was wholesome, but she wasn't wholesome? She had a lot of men. What were you thinking about when you found out she violated your bank account? What were you thinking about? So once again, guys, the link has been dropped. Feel free to chime in because we need to talk about it. What do you guys think? It's 21 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock. It's been a great show thus far. But some of you guys have suffered in silence too long. And see, part of group therapy, guys, is something called universality, where men come together to share their stories and also share their pain. But see, you can't eradicate the meta madness that's going on inside your head until you have a conversation. So once again, guys, this is the part of the show where we try to find things that can help us. Guys, this is the part of the show where we seek balance. This is the part of the show where we try to find clarity to what's going on, guys. This is the part of the show. And see, once we understand that, then we can become better men. So this is the part of the show, guys, where...
This is the part of the show where we find solutions.
All right, guys, what are the solutions? 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 Because part of being men is dealing with struggle. Part of being men is dealing with pain, hurt, distress, brokenness. Even great men have dealt with pain, distress, hurt, brokenness, and sadness. But we got to have the conversation, and so we can learn how to deal with it. Because watch this. If you don't have the conversation, then you can become a victim to the anger that's trapped up inside you. You got to have a conversation. If you don't have the conversation, then you become a victim of the anger that's trapped up inside you. Shout out to Mel. How you doing, Mel? And how would you like to add to the conversation, brother?
How you doing, man?
No doubt. What's going on, brother?
Okay, my bad before I start. You hear some in the background? It's my fan.
Okay, all right. No, you good,
in my
brother.
room, so I gotta get that air.
No, you good, dog. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. That definitely, man. Definitely solutions, man. We got definitely provide some solutions, man. Because there's a lot of lost brothers out there and everything, and it's like, they out there. I think we spend so much time trying to debate our ideas that instead of just combine them. Take his ideas, see if it works for this group of guys. Take this guy's ideas, see if this group of guys, and stuff like that. Instead of just see whose idea is the best and then over challenge them so much. Yeah, so definitely I like this, man. Yeah, we got to provide some solutions. Let me tell you what helped me out and everything.
Right, brother.
30 years ago, many years ago, when I'm on my sim stages and everything. When I went through my heartbreaks and everything, and stuff that led me to here is like, I never even went through a red pill rage. I just jumped right into it. Like, I was just sick of feeling with women the way I was.
Right.
And stuff. So it was like steps. First step and everything, I was just researching, okay, how to be better with women. It led me to a YouTuber named Corey Wayne. And I learned from him about certain behaviors, why women gravitate towards some men with certain behavior traits and everything. So we always hear about the bad boy archetype and everything, but it's more like an assertiveness. Women are attracted to men that are more assertive and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's like, and then not only that, charismatic, sarcastic, and everything, instead of being straightforward, narrow, and stuff like that, But also, too, that started with you as a man, then to get your act together. You got to get in your masculine frame and stuff. From Corey Wayne, that's when I wound up finding Alejandro Curry and stuff that I gravitate towards more because
right.
Something about him that I always felt when I was a kid, when I see dudes cheat on a woman and stuff and they get caught, running back in my mind, like why my mind's like, why don't you just be straight with these women so you won't get up go through this mess? And that's why I sort of gravitate to Alejandro Curry so much, because he broke it down. He created a philosophy called Mode 1 and everything. Be straight, direct, unapologetic with your intentions with women and stuff. Because women technically want the same thing. Like, what I'm saying? The whole thing is like, most dudes lie to get what they want and stuff from other women, with mostly sex. But most times women will tell you, why don't you just tell them straight up, like, we want sex too also. So it's like, okay. That's good.
But you know what, Mel? A lot of men, sorry for cutting across, but a lot of men would say that, I get it with Mode 1. But a lot of men are saying, they're not even wasting their time with that. They just say, listen, the PUA game, if a person want to use that, fine, do you. But in other countries, you don't have to be a PUA. You just be yourself. We live in such a sociological wasteland that men got to jump through all these hoops to talk to average, sometimes subpar women. And guys are saying, listen, I don't have time for that. I'm just going to focus on my money, focus on my purpose, focus on my faith, if you believe in faith, and let it do what it do. Because, many guys don't see the benefit to dating coaches in modern times. I understand it. Some guys, if you want to deal with modern women using pickup lines or being a PUA, do you. I'm not against it. But you just want a woman to be straightforward. There was a guy by the name of, I can't think of his name, he was talking about love after betrayal. And he uses pragmatism as a way to deal with women. You set clear boundaries. If they don't meet your expectation, you cut them off. Let me read the super chat, and then I want to ask you a question about when did you have why did I do that moment, and how did it impact you mentally? So hold tight. Give me 1 minute. Andrew Becker, shout out for that super sticker. Appreciate it, Andrew. Andrew said relationships in America are a waste of time for me. And my mother and father showed me how to vet these women to avoid these dark personalities. Good show. And that is a deal, right? I appreciate it.
deal, right?
Thank you, sir.
That's a
I
bet,
appreciate
right?
it, and
That's
that is
a
a deal,
deal,
right?
right?
Thank
That's
you,
a
sir.
deal,
I
right?
really appreciate that that love, Marvin. Thank you, sir. But I want to ask you a question. We talked about the dark triad, man, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism. We talked about it, Mel.
Yeah.
And we live in times, man, that test the souls of men. But I want you to look at it succinctly, because if you're looking for a righteous woman, if you're looking for a woman to marry, one, what are you looking for in a woman that's going to be your wife? But then number two, what are you seeing in these modern women that say, you know what? I just don't have time overall to waste my time on the majority, not all, because there are some decent ones that are good women. But what would you say, man? What would you say to those that that say, you know, how did you have your aha moment or your madness moment, but also the stresses and the struggles of dealing with modern women? What's your take on it?
Well, all right, first of all, yeah, like maybe before I start early, yeah, more one. It's not a PUA approach, period, at all. Yeah,
yeah, I know who Coach.
Okay,
I know who he is. I know Coach Alan Roger Kerr. I know him.
Okay,
yeah.
I know about it. Okay, yeah. Well, but I do get what you were saying before, because you got a lot of disingenuous guys up in here that mess up the whole information. Yeah, but for me, like, first of all, it does have to still start off with you in general of what you want. Right. And stuff, and sometimes stop BSing what you really want. Like, don't. Sometimes you might have to take a leap of faith and just, like, you know what, stop being afraid of expressing what you want and even demand what you want. Now, I hate to say this, you do have to make time. Period. Even when you go out to church, right? Some men that actually are successful with women and get what they want, they don't see it as a time waster like that, the way a lot of guys see it. No, because they. See, this is the whole thing with the debate that's going on with the game thing and everything. That's never going to go away. And it's been a lot of misinformation about how game is. And I'm glad, earlier I was watching Angry Man show. He clarified that. It's a strategy, like in everything. Everything's a strategy. Game is who you are inside. And you present yourself a certain way. And you know what? I think for a lot of guys, when they complain about wasting time, most of the time they do a lot of small talk so much with women instead of getting straight to the point with these females, and they jumping through hoops, or like I said, being so indirect and thinking they have to waste time and money and stuff like that. And it's like spending time and money so much, and then we don't get what they want. It's like that because that's a big lesson I had to learn in my life. I was busy doing so much things for females that technically didn't deserve it, and sometimes I was being direct with it also too. As they would say, the nice guy and everything that's finished last, I finished a whole lot of last. Like, if I hear a woman call me nice, I get turned off. They call me super nice, but then I have to learn, like, you know what, being nice is not, I'm not being generous myself. There's some things I want from this woman, I'm not expressing it the way I'm supposed to, and then by the time I probably might feel like I have or interest she catches on, she'll flip the script like a narcissistic way, like I'm wrong for it. And I wind up even being pissed off behind it. So it's like, you got to go out and, like, everything's a strategy and everything. First of all, everything. Yeah, let's use the example like the nuclear physicists. There's a lot of debates going on with that and stuff like that. And this is something I learned when I had to learn, I took class on interviewing for a job. When job interviewers ask you certain questions, that doesn't mean the exact answer where you think it is. When they ask you, when they're like a job interview, a employer, they ask you, okay, tell me about yourself. They're not talking about your personality. They're talking about what you write on your resume. That's what they want to know, because they want to bang boom. They're reading a lot of resumes. Let's reverse that with women. When women will ask you, tell me about yourself, talk about your personalities, not your title traits, not your accomplishments. You can talk about that later. Like, be sarcastic with it. I'm a fun-loving guy and everything, drama-free. I'm very flirtatious. I like how your eyes look and everything. Be playful with these females and stuff like that. And you see how their eyes just start glowing, like, and then try to reverse it back on them. Certain questions and stuff like that. Like, I had to learn to be a little bit more mysterious with me, because I was being so easy and stuff. So that was like definitely my big aha moment. I wanted to be more mysterious, more flirtatious, more, sarcastic, sometimes even being a little bit of a jackass in a charming way, because it's fun. Like, what I'm saying? Yeah, but being sarcastic, charismatic. Like, yeah, like you got to know how to know. And then when you got to also to figure out what type of woman and standards that you want and stuff. And when you figure that out, you're gonna still see different types of women, but you through going through different types of women, you got a general idea. Then you start to figure out where these women at. You got to find out where these women at, also too. And you got to know I think some of us guys on this space, we got too much of an unrealistic expectation that we want a perfect 100% being. And some of these females will come with flaws. So my best advice is, okay, what are your top 3 red flags and stuff?
But let me ask you a question, Mel, because some will argue that women are looking for the same qualities. And so what a lot of guys are saying there, Mel, the ones that are serious about finding a wife, they're not really tripping on most modern women. They don't even take them serious. But I want you to talk about more succinctly, how did you recover from the pain that you went through when you had a woman lead you into that dark place? You were a victim of the dark triad. How did you recover from that? And then we'll end the stream in a few minutes because it's 34 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock. It's been a good show thus far. I appreciate the brothers and sisters that have supported the stream and been watching. If you have not donated to the channel, please donate. Please share the stream. Thank you, Cortez, and the other brothers that have shared it. But how have you been a victim of the dark triad, man? And
how we covered? Yeah, me. Right. I definitely have to do a lot of self-reflection and everything. And it was a painful, journey and stuff. Looking back, like, damn, it hurts and stuff like that, And I think, with this manuscript community, that actually helped me a lot. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't really go through red parade like a lot of dudes do and stuff like that and everything. So I'm kind of surprised at that. But I self-reflect. I have to, when I learn more and more to take more accountability for myself, it's not just beating myself up on that part. It's more like a way of letting go on my part. I'm gonna focus on my part alone so I can let it go and move on faster. That's how I recovered. Mm-hmm. I look back and like, you know what? I was way too nice with these females, to the wrong females, the way I was and everything. Being unapologetic and stuff like that. And everything. And then I do look back and, when I was in that shy state, looking at other dudes absorbing how they did it. I was like, I ain't gonna front. Back in the days when I was younger, I had some females and some dudes who taught me some game with women. I should have listened back in my teenage years. I should have listened to them. You know what I'm saying? But I guess I didn't. I wanted to do things my way, in the way like the simp was, and backfired and stuff like that. But it's not the end all be all. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, like I said, it's like let me watch some Charlie Brown movies and stuff like that. When he's on the winning streak, then he fails so badly, then he secludes himself for a while, then he had to go right back outside and realize, life moves on. And I hate to say I have to set things in life and behavior, their natural behavior. Some behaviors I have to accept in life that, this woman could treat me like shit and she could move on with someone better than me and stuff like that and have a better relationship before I could. I had to accept that. That's why I'm not so angry and bitter about it no more like that, because that's how life is and everything. But I know I could control my actions and what I could do for myself and stuff. So I'm taking responsibility of my actions, what I do, completely strategize, get back out in the game and have a better strategic view on it. That's how I recover faster that way. That's why I tell a lot of females, like, when they get mad, when I tell them, like, you could be the best person all you want, but if you're still attracting the same 10 guys and everything and it failed, it's still on you. It's still you. You're doing something wrong. You have to do a new strategy and stuff like that. If you're looking for a certain type of guy, then you know what? You got to go where these guys are at instead of you random going somewhere and stuff like that. And then sometimes you got to be well known out in the open what you're looking for and stuff like that, And that's how I recovered myself. Like, I have to reflect and everything, sit back, take accountability of my actions 100% and bounce back hard. Like, I started focus on myself, my talents, my own hobbies, my work ethic, everything, get my health back together. And then, and I started learning different other techniques to talk to women and stuff like that.
But I want to challenge your thought, Mel. I don't want to color cross you. I apologize. But some men are saying that dealing with the typical, there might be outliers. It's just not even worth the time. Boss Don Data said that Cool Gent, out of 10,000 women, not one was virtuous, and that's in the Bible. basically what God's saying in a nutshell, you're wasting your time dealing with these chicks. If you're just trying to pump and dump, men of them are trying to pump and dump you. And I'm not necessarily advocating that, but I see why men do advocate it, because many of them are pumping and dumping you. But they're just saying more or less that it's, you know, I've heard guys say they believe that less than 10% are even wife-worthy or wife-ready. And a lot of guys say, I'm not going to waste my time dealing with chicks that are so violent and have negative attitudes. What's your take on that? And then I want somebody to come in and challenge Mel's, you know, concept and why they don't necessarily believe in using game, because most guys will tell you that if a woman really like you, you don't have to use any game. A woman, though, within 5 minutes, Mel, she want to have sex with you. If a woman is really feeling you,
but here's the problem with that, though. It is the problem with that with some guys. Even when women express that, some guys could talk themselves out of sex when she making it so easy and stuff. So, you know, listen, I know with some guys, like, you know, you don't even notice she's throwing herself at you, and you probably do something stupid. You don't even notice that. You ever heard the old saying, men could talk themselves out of pussy? Part of my French, if I can't curse on here.
Yeah. Watch your language, but yeah, I know what you're saying, bro.
Sorry about that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? The point of woman coming at you, just making it easy on your part, but it's like that scene in my movie Hitch. She already liked you. Your job is not to mess it up. So it's like, first of all, like I said, it starts off with you as a man, or what you want and your intentions, and then, you know, I know it's gonna be it's a journey is hard, but you got the specific type of woman you're looking for. You already got to know where they at. If you're a person like myself, grew up in the hood, I don't deal with hood chicks. I grew up around them chicks, so I don't even deal with them no more like that. I want to go with certain classy conservative chicks. So you know what? Me living in the major city like New York, I know where go to these places at where they are at. Like I go to little lounge bars, like jazz clubs and stuff. Certain outdoor events downtown Manhattan or Brooklyn and stuff like that. Like, you got to know where these places, where these type of women are at. You got to get out your comfort zone, man. It's like, let me use Kevin Samuels as an example when he was preaching about going out, spending Saturday daytime just going out and just mixing, mingling and stuff. Yeah, like, and by you doing that, you find yourself meeting different people, and then you never know, you're networking with different people, and then certain events that you might into certain interests, you never know, like, and then you might go to an event that may have a like little mini concert out in the Central Park, and you might meet many different classes of types of women in that park out there. Like, you gotta put yourself out there and do research and know what you want, what type of woman that you want, and find out where these type of women are at. I see these women every day. I know how to get submissive, feminine women, even in the U.S. I never went out stay like other brothers did, like, you know, now yet, but I know how to find them in the U.S. and everything, because I know where the place is at. Because you know what, each move I make is I strategize. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, like, you know, but it still has to start off with you, because I will have to say this: even if you go overseas, even if they raised under certain cultures, they still have an expectation of you as a man. If you're not that masculine man that they raised under that type of culture that they want masculine men, they're not going to deal with you overseas.
I agree with that part, but you don't have to use game. But I do agree with you on that part. Yeah. You're correct. I agree with that. But you don't have to use game. Our culture is so perverted, man. Like, I like what somebody said, being a good man in another country, you're rewarded for it. Being a nice guy here, you're seen as a sucker. And guys are just checking out, man. They say, look, man, I'm tired, man. You know, I'm tired of, you know, got to keep doing whatever, because what you're seeing is a byproduct of dysfunctional women. They're very dysfunctional. Many are broken, and they don't even know that they're broken because so many have told them that they were okay. But once again, man, anything else you would like to add? Anybody want to come in and challenge Mel? If not, I'm going to end this stream. It's about 42 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock as we're bringing it to you live from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State, as we're talking about the Dark Triad, and also, have you been a victim of the Dark Triad? So anybody else would like to add to the conversation with Mel? Mel has done an awesome job. Boss Don said, I disagree. Okay, he was talking to Cool Jet. But what percentage, Mel, would you say of modern Western women, in your opinion, are wife-worthy and or wife-ready?
I will admit, like about 20%.
Oh, you said 20. Some niggas lower than that. Tell me why you say that.
20%, yeah, because like I said, we dealing with a lot of stuff that happened many generations ago that lined up to as it is now. Most percentage of females, how they acting and stuff that was indoctrinated You know what I'm saying, from the previous generation before and stuff like that. I feel it started within the baby boomers at the seed and planted over to right now going on. Feminists have a strong hold and stuff like that. You got females that, you know what, so indoctrinated and it's so hard and everything, mixed with social media also too, like you was explaining also too, with the narcissistic behavior, the sexual liberation lifestyle and everything. Yeah, it's hard for certain females that actually want those traditional relationships to even speak up and teach other women because they so indoctrinated by media influences and everything, the simps out there that encourages their behavior so much like that is ridiculous. So I believe it's at least 20% from my point of view that's out there. Yeah, that's wife ready, you know, and want to be married in a traditional lifestyle and stuff.
What are some of the struggles, Mel, that you have living up top, man, about narcissistic traits, psychopathy, and also Machiavellianism? What are some of the struggles you have living up north, man, with women and how they respond to heteronormative masculinity, but also, Mel, how they respond to you and your approach? Because I've heard men up north say it's harder to deal with women up north because they're a lot more cantankerous and a lot more aggressive. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it is. You know, yeah. I mean, like I said, living in the city of New York, we got a lot of percentage of
Hey, Mel, hold tight, man, hold tight. Wall Street J, I know Mel. If you do me a favor, Wall Street J, just show your face in the back. There you go, brother. All right. Thank you, Wall Street. Thank you, brother. Go ahead,
What's
man.
going on?
Thank you.
What's good? What's good, bro?
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, me living in New York City, yeah, it's definitely, you know, it could be some struggles and everything, yeah, because living in a liberal city and everything, you're going to deal with a lot of different type of attitude type of women, like self-entitled women and everything. So, you know, and I guess for me and everything, like I'm so into with my standards and everything, I don't even tolerate certain females like that. So when I know if she doesn't match my energy the way it is, I don't give her the time of day and stuff like that. Like if I sense some red flags, and me being a little older now, I'm not even as tolerant like I used to when I was younger and stuff like that. So her beauty alone, I don't care how fine and beautiful she is and everything, I'll kick her to the curb with no problem, like a split of a snap.
Right.
Everything. Right. So it's like when she crosses certain lines. That's why I said guys need to have definitely a standard. What are your 3 major red flags? And starting forcefully, she gets those she strikes on the 3 major red flags. It doesn't matter how good looking she is, man. The power that you can have over a woman is turning her down and not let her affect you.
Right.
And stuff like that. When she turns you down.
Right.
Power walk away and mean it. And stuff. And I exercise, that's why I exercise a lot. I walk away and mean it. Don't give them the energy, and like I might even shock some of them, like, okay, bye. Like, you know, I just don't let it bother me no more. Like, you know, I don't even care if she cursed me out in the open. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Because, you know, reality, she's happy. She's actually lucky that I actually wanted to speak to her, give her the time and energy. That's the attitude I have now. I'll reverse it back on them. And if I have certain standards that she had, I don't force an ultimatum on females. I give them a free will choice and stuff. Like let's use the Instagram model for example. Okay, if I don't like a woman that has an Instagram account, I'm not gonna tell her you gotta get rid of your Instagram page or else. No, I just let her know, sweetheart, if you want to get serious with me, I don't get serious with women that got Instagram accounts. So right. You know what I'm saying? So that choice is still up to you and everything. Yeah, look, you know, but I'm just letting you know now that I don't deal with girls that got Instagram accounts. If she wants to still keep an Instagram account, then I'm exercising my choice to walk away from her. And then she's sitting back and realize, why'd you walk away? Because I said I don't deal with girls that got Instagram accounts. Now your free will, still if you want to keep it, but you might have to find someone else that's going to deal with that. I don't deal with that. So that'll leave a choice to either she's going to get rid of it on her own free will for me, or she's going to keep it and find someone else that's going to deal with her. But I'm focused on my choice if I want to deal with it. That's what really matters.
No doubt. Wall Street J, how you doing, young man? And how would you? No doubt. How would you like to add to the conversation? You are a Zennial, I believe, and when you deal with a lot of modern women, you will ask yourself the question, Wall Street J, what was I thinking about when you got caught up in the triangle, the triad, the dark triad of Machiavellianism, psychopathy, but also narcissism? My heart goes out to young men like yourself because it's a dating whirlwind out here. And we do know that there are some decent young women that are trying to do the right thing. Shout out to the good young women that are trying. But the good young women now are being shamed into bad behavior. The good young women, Wall Street J, are being called pygmies and mammies. But what are some of the struggles that you dealt with dealing with women that had the dark triad personality, and how did that relationship impact you in a negative way?
Well, I was in a relationship when I was younger because, like many of black men, I had no father figure to tell me these kinds of things and whatnot. And because of that, I've had to pretty much figure things out on my own. And when I got into this relationship, I noticed it was a mental battle. I know that seems very hard to comprehend, but it was more of a mental battle. And because I had no experience in other relationships, I didn't know that was necessarily a toxic relationship. And then I would find myself in positions where I have to keep reinvesting my emotions into it, so much to the point where you get to the point where enough's just not enough. Mm-hmm. And when you get so emotionally invested in, that relationship severs, it can leave you very damaged. And because of that,
yes, sir.
And because of that, when you get damaged, that's when your eyes peel back and you start to feel and understand that I was being manipulated. And you start to see things that you weren't able to see while you were in that relationship. And it's a very painful experience, and when it first starts, but over time you become wiser and you observe more and things like that. And what I will say is this, because of that, I've adopted SYSBM, and also I have I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yes, right.
If when I'm talking to a female and I get the hints and the signals that she's trying to manipulate, I'm not going to tell her, I know you're trying to manipulate. I'm not into doing that and trying to call it out. I just see it for what it is. And if that's what that person thinks of me and wants to try to do, then I'm just going to disengage myself from that person, because the reality, I don't have no business being around people like that. I read scripture, so I can't be mentally moved, but from beyond what's righteous in the eyes of God, of the Father.
Yes, sir.
They can try to do everything they want, but see, because I have that knowledge, they can't move around and move and groove with me like they can move and groove with somebody that hasn't read before. Mm-hmm. So in terms of, these dark personality traits, yes, I do see them. And, it's kind of sad that people will go to such lengths to disrespect themselves and disrespect you by showing you that ugly side of themselves. But this is the reality in the environment that we live in. Mm-hmm. And to live in an environment like this is very toxic, and it can affect your health and it can affect your mental, because in the United States, up is down and down is up.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm. Right. And my heart goes out to you, man, because boys need their fathers to guide them and lead them in the proper direction. And with over 70% of kids being born in single parent homes without fathers, it leaves boys very broken because they don't have a compass or a guide, Wall Street J, to help them become the better version of themselves. Righteous fathers set principles and guidance for their sons. But we live in a world now where they would try to devalue men for having principles. They would say, you are insecure for having standards. And it's not that you are insecure by default. You're based on your temperament, because the person's not respecting your boundaries. If a relationship because you can't trust them. But it's another thing to be insecure, Wall Street J, because of what you went through based on your temperament or based on pain. And a lot of times those are shaming tactics, but also they are thinking errors. And that's why, many men are beginning to change the law in their mind. They're beginning to change the law in their mind because they don't want to have to deal with situations where they're left with women that make them feel like, they're nothing. And it's unfortunate because, we're beginning to see, not only are you saying it, but many men are beginning to say it. Many young men, Zennials, Millennials, Gen Xers, they're beginning to say it and see it. First of all, where are you from, young man? What part of the United States are you from, if you don't mind saying?
I'm from Palm Beach County, Florida.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about the dating and the dating trends in Palm Beach. What is it like? What are you seeing with the dating trends in Florida? What are some of the behaviors that you're seeing that you feel like is troubling? And how's that impacted you and some of your comrades in Palm Beach, brother?
Well, in regards to Palm Beach, well, you have to understand the whole entire region of South Florida. South Florida is a mixture of the Caribbean and South America because they're more closer. The proximity is much closer. So you have a lot of Caribbean people and things like that. However, due to the laws in this environment that changed the behavior of the individuals in this environment, it's pretty much Americanized Caribbean island, pretty much. And yes, and it's a lot of situations where you might meet a chick, but her parents are first generation. You know, they're first generation, like they weren't even born in the United States. Well, this woman was born here. She acts American. You understand? So even though you're dealing with it's a very diverse population, you're still dealing with the same problems because it's largely subject to the laws that these people are subject to. And right now, I think we're all educated enough to know that these laws are not necessarily appealing to men.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. It's not appealing, man. And the trajectory moving forward, man, is that a lot of men are checking out. In an ideal world, if you can turn back the hand of time, what would Wall Street Jade look for in a wife or potential relationship? What would you look for?
Well, you know, what I'd look for in a woman is I'm looking for a woman that will be able to take instruction. I think that's one of the greatest things that you could possibly have. See, you can have an educated woman that makes money and stuff like that, and you can have a poor woman. But the educated woman is going to be just as poor as the poor woman if she doesn't have the ability to take instruction.
Right.
You know, everything else can follow after that. Of course, we have, cooking and cleaning and things like that. But the willingness and the ability to take instruction, because in this environment, you can't tell these females anything. And that's why, it's sad, but you have to let them, go to their own detriment. You have to let them be decrepit and impoverished, because, once I've traveled to the Dominican Republic, I'm able to actually see how the world really works. And it's just, the kind of truths that I've come to, for example, is that single motherhood is associated with poverty. And when you set yourself up in that position, I don't want to say that they're stupid or anything like that, but they're not thinking about the consequences of their actions and how it cannot affect only them, but their children and their children's children. And with that being said, I am not going to do that. Instead, I still talk to women here and there, but if I'm the kind of person I see for what it is rather than what it could be. So if I'm dealing with a manipulated woman in front of me and she's a gardening tool and I know she's a gardening tool, she's going to be used just like any other tool. But however, if I do meet a good woman, a good head on her shoulders, well-mannered, feminine, then, I know how to behave myself and treat her accordingly.
Right. I respect that. Right. Mm-hmm. I respect that. I see your point, man. And many are saying that the dating market has become a cesspool, man. Many are saying that, it's no benefit to deal with some of these model women, sadly, man.
Right.
What did you see in Brazil and the DR that you don't see here in America, real quick?
Well, I can tell you the first thing that I saw that I've noticed was that when I landed in Brazil, not Brazil, sorry, my brother went to Brazil, but I went to the DR. The first thing I noticed when I landed in the DR was that when I went to the airport, I saw a whole bunch of families in front of the entrance waiting to greet and hug their family and their loved ones and stuff like that. And it was a very emotional experience, and it made me really realize that there is a world out here that people are kind and loving like this, where they will wait for you outside of the airport. Now, brothers in the chat, when you come from the airport, is there anybody waiting to hug on you and tell you how much they missed you, or you got to call somebody to come pick you up?
Right.
You know, and it was an eye opener because I never had that, and it definitely changed how I think and what I want for myself. And I want a family. I want that, but in this environment, I'm not going to be able to get that, and it's going to be advantageous for me to maintain it.
I see your point, man. I see your point. And I think it's safe to say those cultures are very patriarchal, where the women have been conditioned and socialized to respect and honor men. Many men, when they go to foreign countries, they mess up the ecosystem because they overkill and they give too much. There was a woman that was in the DR, and she said that Caribbean men are actually mean. They don't treat them as well as American men. And that's because American men have seen themselves as less than for so long. But I think these conversations are good because men are beginning to open up and see things for what it is. Young men and old men and all are beginning to love themselves. And, many times they're called groups like this, hate groups. I actually had the magazine Revolt that reached out to me to do and talk about Kevin Samuels. And I don't know what their motives were, but they never responded back. So I don't know if they thought my content was too conservative or too male-led. I don't know. But I know sometimes on some of these platforms where they call you to come in, and I'm going to do a show on that called They're Watching You. They do that to more or less try to more or less put a kink in your armor to minimize your message. And so, but like I said, it's good, man, that you're beginning to open your eyes up. But real quick, Wall Street Jay, how the fatherlessness reduce your ability to see some of these dark traits? And we're going to sign off in a minute, man.
No, I'd like to retract that statement. I'm not saying that I don't have a relationship with my father. I have a relationship with my father. I love my father. I call my father. However, once him and my mother divorced when I was 7 years old, I was subject to basically a single mother household to where, yeah, I have a dad and I talk to my dad, but I'm still dealing with the forces and the effects of single motherhood. You understand?
Explain that. What are some of the forces and the effects of single motherhood? How has single motherhood impacted you mentally as a young man? Go ahead.
Well, one, and this is not in any way to disparage my mother, but my mother leads with her emotions, and that's caused her to make very dumb decisions. And I've had to live through them, and I've often had to correct them. And it used to anger me because I have no authority to make the thing right. So even when she do what she want to do and mess it up, I had to do it. And another thing was, even with my grandmother, I don't get made a plate for. I don't get made a plate for. And see, because I was born in Pompano Beach in Broward County, and then I moved to the suburbs in Palm Beach County. And I started to see different cultures around me and different people and prominent families and things like that. And I started seeing how men were treated. And when I look back in my family and I see how men are treated in my family, I was understanding there was a disconnect. So I basically, I went through high school. I said, I want better for myself because I'm not going to leave myself subject to the terrors of people like this. And people can say I have mother issues and things like that, but it's just I'm very aware and prone to when people are trying to manipulate and stuff like that.
Right.
My mother used to do this, and that's another thing I want to talk about. Sometimes when single mothers are on their own and they doing all this, taking care of the kids and working, it's very emotionally taxing and physically taxing on them. And because they're so frustrated, they may eventually emotionally manipulate their own children. And, you don't know what's really happening to you as a child. But then when you grow older, you kind of grow disdain and stuff like that because you realize what they were doing to you. And because of those experiences that I had with my mother, when I talk to females, when I start seeing the same patterns that my mom used to do, I disengage with myself because I don't want that energy around me. And I actually have a choice to do something about that in my life. And You know, after being to DR and meeting with, because I speak Spanish and Portuguese, by the way. So I'm actually able to talk to them and ask them questions and listen to them. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, do that manipulative mind game, because see, brothers, when you start getting to the point where you're talking to a woman and you have to use your brain power to try to read situations, you shouldn't be with that woman, because you see how mentally taxing you're already doing. Because at that point, it's just not good. You don't want to find yourself in that position. You should always want to find yourself being able to talk clearly and just normally. But see, you can't do that here because of the environment and because toxic is good. And
Right. Right. I agree. Toxic is the new normal. It's normal to be toxic now. There was a time where that was very deleterious, but now up is down, down is up, nice is bad, bad is nice. And you can't fight against the social tide. You can't fight against it. And so the only thing you can do is save yourself. Mel and on Wall Street, Jay, some would say that SYSBM is an escapist mindset. What would you guys like to add to that? And then we're going to sign off.
Yeah, I'd like to add that I am, you know, I'm not an escapist. I'm a realist in that I'm an educated black man, and I'm going to do what I want when I want, and I don't answer to anybody. And if anybody has a problem with what I'm saying, then you have the problem, because you should be controlling your life.
Right.
I will find a way, or I'll create one myself. I am not a victim. You cannot be a victim and a winner.
Right.
And I don't think like that, and that's how I think. And because I think like that, and I have that confidence, and I have the belief in my own ability, I will do what I want in this world, and I will make my own impact. Now, if you don't like what I do, I don't care what you like, you know. And people take that the wrong way and say that, oh, you're narcissist and stuff like that. No, I don't care what you do, but just don't tell me what to do. You know, that's just how I move. You know, I find myself, you know, I think it's a lot of people in the black community that will try to do everything in their power to police men, whether it's sexually, economically, or politically.
One thing I noticed.
I agree, brother. I agree, Jay.
One thing I do notice and everything, just like the young man was saying, he was raised on his mother and everything. Yeah, like remember the movie Boys in the Hood and everything. How Trey's father had to tell his mom over and over, Trey should be living with me because only a man can raise a man and stuff like that. So I'm glad you hear, the young man acknowledge that, with moms, because I've seen it plenty of times myself when mothers trying to raise sons. It's totally different from how a mother would discipline her son than how a father would discipline his son. And so the father disciplined his son trying to build some structure into him, while mother, she disciplined him in the course of trying to break him and stuff, because she knows by the time that son gets a certain age, he's going to be more powerful than the moms and stuff like that. And her discipline is not going to work. Even it's going to get to the point of abuse. It's not going to work with the young boy no more, because he's going to become a man and stuff like that. And it's like she'll try to break him when he's young, because that's why you see these son husbands the way they do. Like they never break out of mama's habit and stuff like that. And that she's manipulating you. You're technically being her friend too much, her replacement boyfriend. And it's like that boy never grows up, and he gets in contact and baby. Mom being stuck in the house, and then all of a sudden mom will complain later, but she acting all passive towards her son, like spoiling him and everything, like. That's the closest man that she's gonna have, but it's like you're doing more damage than good to that boy. It's like that, and we already know why most of them want to keep him, because of the child support part. Like they just want money from him. And it's like I tell them, like, you want to save money from spending stuff on that boy, let him live with his father and stuff like that. Then you can save what you got.
Right.
You ain't have child support involved in that period, because if he's living with his child living with his father, and fathers do want their kids with them and stuff like that, that's money already being saved on both parties.
Right. And like y'all say on New York, that's on my mom.
Yeah, put chain on them. Balls on my mom. That be broken balls. Kill some of my mom, bro. They back. Gang, that's on my monkey. Gang, that's on
And that's what Raekwon the Man says on my mama. I like what I got to give it out to Boss Don Data, and this is the savage comment of the night. Boss Don Data said, "You don't have to shovel manure. Life can be short. You don't have to waste away trying to pull a needle out of a haystack." And that is the savage moment of the night. That's a savage comment of the night. We're moving forward, guys. We're moving forward. This has been a good show talking about the dark triad. Guys, some of these shows I'm going to put it on Patreon at some point. I stay so busy as a therapist, man. I need to be going to bed, man, because I'm not young like I used to be. But I'm glad these shows help you guys see through some of the issues that we're seeing. Real quick, in less than 1 minute, Mel, what did you get from the show and how was it beneficial, brother? And then also to the young brother, Wall Street J. Wall Street, I remember you now, brother. You came on the show in the past. Thank you for popping in, man. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. But what did you get from the show, Mel, and how was it beneficial? And then also Wall Street J. And then we're going to sign off because I got another fire burner for you guys on tomorrow. Go ahead.
It's definitely a good show, man. To be aware. You definitely got to, make these situations aware so men can know how to be more aware of maneuvering certain types of women and stuff like that. And when there's solutions that's going to be provided and people going to listen and everything, that's even more beneficial that way and everything. Mm-hmm. I gave some solutions and everything. Some men that give and take. So they don't have to take it all. They probably could take some and apply it to their lives. Wall Street gave some solutions. Also, too, they could take some of his advice. You gave some and everything. They could either just take some of it. They don't have to take all of it, but they could take some of it and apply it because something is missing and not working right for some of these men in their lives. So it's like, my thing is, they're going to have to try something new because if you see a pattern that's not working over and over again, try something new. And stuff, and you never know it might work. Working steps and everything, and then you definitely can see that aha moment, like, wow, I never did this before. Well, it worked. It really worked.
Wall Street J, what you get from the show, brother, and how did this show add clarity to what you already know? Because I'm going to commend you. You already are ahead of the game. You are far ahead of the game, like a lot of men. And one thing that you millennials and zennials have that many of the Gen Xers and boomers didn't have, we didn't have social media. We didn't have men speaking in a concentric circle where we're sharing ideas. Part of the tenets of group therapy is universality and also sharing, but also something called catharsis, where men are emoting their pain based on the struggles that they have had. The Gen Xers, the millennials and the zennials, you guys are blessed because we didn't have platforms where men coalesce together to talk about their struggles. But what are you getting from the show, young man, and how did this show add clarity to what you already knew?
What I'm getting from the show is reaffirmation from my brethren that they're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, and that it is a concern to my genetic survival, because we know that getting with women that are of this caliber can be a detriment to your life, and not only your life, but the children that come from that union with that woman. Mm-hmm. And I understand that many people will take this message and see it as hate. They can see it as hate, but amongst my brothers, I'm speaking amongst what we are seeing with our own eyes. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, because what we see, and because we're SYSBN, I want to share with my brothers that something that my father told me, and my father, because I'm a Hebrew Israelite. If you doesn't know, my actual name is Joshua. Mm-hmm. And my father, he taught me the Bible at a young age, and he was telling me how the Most High, the Creator, he created the entire universe, and on the seventh day he rested and he reflected and saw it was good.
Yeah, and right, no doubt.
He begins to tell me that the Most High created man in his own image, therefore we have the power to create and change the immediate environment around us. And it begins with ourselves. And I want to say amongst our brethren, wherever you go, wherever you want to do, you can go ahead and do it. There's nothing stopping you. And the main people that will try to stop you are the people that are around you, that are close to you, that want to control you. Don't let them do that.
That's impressive, man. No doubt. That's an excellent comment, young man. I'm proud of you. Feel free to join the shows at any point because I do seek to bring balance, man. And then the Hebrew, the skiva or the skeva, if it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. And we need to set order and balance in a time where there is no order and balance. And once again, a lot of young men are looking for hope. And these shows bring hope, they bring clarity, and they set the template for how men should move and stand on masculine principles that are devoid of shame and devoid of harassment. So kudos to you, kudos to the guests, guys. We're going to sign off. I got another powerful maybe on tomorrow. I'm thinking about doing the show on tomorrow if I get back from the mountains in time, if I decide to go. But you guys have been awesome. Thank you guys for sharing the content. You guys did a hell of a job getting them likes up, man. I really appreciate that. Continue to get the likes up. And Wall Street J and Neil, guys, do me a favor. Please share this show. Can you guys share the show for me now?
Yes, sir.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah, share the show for me, man. Share it on social media. Share it with like-minded brothers because, it ain't going to always resonate with everybody. But, guys, it's been a great show, man. And I appreciate it, guys. We're going to sign off. Thank you to the 63 that were watching. You guys always hold me down. I really appreciate it. And don't be a victim of modern women. And also don't be a victim of a condition that a lot of brothers are struggling with, and they're not aware of it, of ego syntonia. All right, JJ Diesel, I can give you about 3 or 4 minutes, brother. I'm gonna sign off, but go ahead, JJ, real quick, brother. I'm about to sign off. Go ahead.
Thank you for having me.
About 3 to 5 minutes, man. About 3 minutes. I'm about to sign off. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. I live in Forest City, Arkansas, and we have a curfew here so bad because all the killing. It's been a lot of killing here, and you can thank single moms for that. They break up the family and cause detriment and destroying society because of these loose nuts out here killing each other. No leadership in the home whatsoever. And I get shame and tax, but that only reinforce my stance on things, and I take it. And the stuff I say is like when I speak, I walk on serpents, and I put my foot on their neck and leave them.
Right. This dark triad. I know you was in a relationship, and keep it under 2 minutes. Did you see in the dark triad with the woman you were dealing with that broke your heart? You talked about the woman that hurt you in the past, and did you see in the dark triad traits from the lady you dealt with?
Not at first, but it's like she was what they call bipolar, but I said bipolar. I call that demon possessed. And so do I feel the same way about somebody that claimed to be dementia. So these doctors put names on stuff they don't have no other explanation for.
Right. So what do you see the trajectory of modern relationships, man? Where are we going at?
Society is going to self-destruct for the masses, but those who are worthy of saving in God's eyes, they'll be redeemed. That's what I have to say for that.
No doubt. Well, listen, I appreciate it, JJ, brother. I always see you come through from time to time, man. Thank you, man. I think I got another fire show coming up tomorrow, man. I think you guys going to love it. It's a show that has caused a lot of men consternation and more or less give clarity. I got some more shows I'm going to do talking about the dark side. It's a topic that many don't like to address. But you're right. I think you are beginning to see a manifestation of demonic energy. I think as we get closer to the end of time in the last days, you will begin to see vestiges of demonic possession. That's a very taboo topic that folks don't want to talk about. Many church people stray from it. That's why you got to put on the whole armor of God because, and that's me myself, I got to get ready and get right on some areas because you're going to see some things manifest. If you're not careful, it's going to scare you. And D, you're right. It's straight satanic and straight demonic. Some don't believe in the spirit world. They try to minimize it. But there was a woman, she was an atheist, and she said what she's seen by some of these globalists, she's saying to herself that she believes that it's demonic. Even Ray Charles could see that some of this stuff that's going on there is evil and demonic. And so you got to pull on the whole armor, man, so that you don't become prey to what's going on. Some believes in Christian circles that the next big event is the rapture. They believe that people that are under Christ will be taken away. Some don't believe that. I'm not here to argue theology. We don't believe that, then you don't have to listen to it. But we're living in very dark times, man, and very interesting times to say the least. But anyway, guys, you guys have been awesome. JJ, I appreciate it, brother. I'm gonna sign off. And once again, guys, don't be a victim of meta madness. Don't be sitting in the corner of your room and asking yourself the question, why did I get caught up in that? Why did I do that? Because at the end of the day, the only thing you have is yourself. I say it, brother. The only thing you have is yourself at the end of the day. And it's very important to preserve yourself and your mind. So, JJ, I'm going to sign off, brother. Much love and blessings. I'll be seeing you guys soon. All right?
Thank you.
I finally just had enough because there came a point where, to me, there was really only two options. It was either get divorced or put a shotgun in my mouth and call it a day. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
That's kind of where I got. And so obviously I chose divorce over the shotgun because I did not want to live another moment the way I was living. It's like, if this is all life is meant to be for me, and if this is all I am meant to be to her, to life, then I don't want to do it. Fuck this. I'd rather be dead.
You know the old saying that a hit dog hollers, well, a hurt man screams, and that's what you have.
I genuinely don't understand this shit. Right? I'm not even a fan of Kevin Samuels, right? But you women fucking celebrated that the man died because of shit that he said, right? And then you turn around and you support that dude. He beats the living breaks off of women. He put both of his baby mamas in the fucking hospital. But this is what this is who you show support to. He's a certified demon. But y'all ignore everything that he has done with his fucking actions because you like the sound of the fucking message, even though the message is actually fucking dangerous. Because the men that he's talking about about who men should be like, is like him. But he beats the shit out of women. So when you find a man who is exactly like that dude, that's what you ask for. And you don't deserve protection. Period.
Go ahead and hop on to the comment section of that video. It's really interesting because what that comment section shows, and with the stuff that's going on with Will and Jada, really just proves is that women really do believe, they truly believe that their hurt feelings justify a physical response. And it's really interesting because whenever you hear stories of a man hurting a woman, unaliving a woman because his feelings were hurt, it's always chalked up to being toxic masculinity, which I'm not sitting here saying that it's right at all. I don't care how hurt your feelings are. I don't care. You do not have the right to put your hands on somebody. You don't. Like, this is literally something that they teach you as children in grade school.
Are you a victim of brokenness and despair? A broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. Many times, many of you young men that are listening come from homes that are very toxic and very dysfunctional. And because of that, many of you have deferred your power in many ways to the point it's led over into your social life, and many times led over into your relationships. If you guys are dealing with mental health pathologies, conscious and unconscious, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's important that you deal with your mental health in order to be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, and also your community. But because mental health is often stigmatized, many of you often suffer in silence. Don't be a victim in silence. And see me once again at kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I need you guys to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And male mental health is one of those elements that's paramount to the functioning of a man. Be well.
Tell them run it off. I wake up. Yeah. I wake up, flex, I'm down now. Check, no drip this. Wet. Tell them run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch. Tell them run it up. I wake up, flex, I'm down now. Check, no drip this. Wet. Tell them run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch. Tell them run it up. 9 out of 10 roll through my hands, I'm by my lonely. Turned to a savage, now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies. 4 in the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say